We got our first look at the Japanese ladies and Mayumi Ohkutsu at the World Championships 1990, Västerås, Sweden, as Japan directed all its attention on Kurosawa and the Nagano Olympics. They've come a long way under the direction of Victoria's Elaine Dag-Jackson. 6-5 at the Worlds a year ago, but so far in Kamloops, 0-3, and desperate now. Mayumi Ohkutsu for a win here at the Worlds. Canada's Heather Godberson has won a junior championship before, a World Junior, and now she's trying to instill some of that worldly experience on her skip, Kathy Borst. But so far, it hasn't been all smiles for Canada. She's come a long way, so has their country, Japan. Mayumi Ohkutsu from the Tokoro Curling Club. Last year, 6-5 in Bern, Switzerland, but so far, 0-3 in Kamloops. Denmark, Germany, Sweden. They are the leaders at 3-0, followed by Canada, Norway, Dorothy Nordby at 2-1. Scotland and Switzerland are on the downside and still winless. Finland, Japan, and the U.S. Denmark and Sweden, 2 unbeatens hook up here in Draw 4. USA tries to win their first, as does Finland and Jana Jokela. Beside the Thompson River, here in Kamloops, it's the Ford Worlds on TSN. It's the coolest morning we've had so far during our stay, but it's still beautiful for an early morning walk beside the Thompson River here at Riverside Park. Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Kamloops and our third day of coverage of these Ford World Curling Championships. Good morning, sir. Good morning. Coming up on this Monday, the Canadian men will play just once. Wayne Middaugh at 3-0, and coming off his toughest test, a win over Switzerland, will play Denmark. The Canadian women, however, will play twice. Tonight against Switzerland and this morning against Japan. Kathy Borst and her team from Edmonton are currently 2-1, and she admits the team has been sloppy, winning yesterday in her only game, an extra end win over Finland. And now with their thoughts, let's join Lyndon Ray.
Well, Vic, you're right. It was sloppy. Kathy said it. And Ray, you and I talk a lot about the aspects of the game. And for Canada and, of course, winless Japan, it's not technical issues that are the problem.
Sir. You're right, Linda. And good morning to you, too, Victor. It's something, you know what the game's like, Linda. It moves from the hands to the head. They are technically sound. Japan, in particular, Elaine Dag-Jackson has worked so hard with them. But I think what's happened, it's so tough to get these teams up. Now, there's a lot of pressure on Japan. You know, they're expected to do well. The Olympics being in their home country, they went there, they're showing, so they've had a lot of ups and downs, highs and lows. And it's really hard to bounce back sometime. And here, after Akiko goes to Thunder Bay and 8-1 on the round robin, finishes well, they're expected to come here. Now, Mayumi has more pressure on her. A lot more pressure. You skip so much, and you don't know what causes it, but it's there. And so as a result, they're feeling some of the emotions and feelings that have been on Canada a lot in these particular types of events, where they go in the favorites. Now, Japan was not a favorite to win here, but they're expected to win. And that's pressure that sometimes is hard to understand and hard to handle.
Well, you know, it is April, and it is the time of year where we talk about pressure and burnout. And for Canada, too. Remember, these teams have been through a long season of Olympic trials, bonspiels, and then, of course, postseason play. We are into April, and they're getting tired. Again, it's not technically. Canada's still throwing pretty well, although each player would like a few shots back, of course. But when I look at Canada, I see a different style of play than we saw at the Scott Tournament of Hearts. And that often is based on pressure as well. Overall, all women's teams are throwing about 51% of their total shots as draws. Canada is the lowest at 38%, Japan a little higher at 55%, and that 38% to me is not a Kathy Borst style of play. They like to put more rocks in play. She's fearless usually. She can hit the button if she has to on her last rock, and to me that's the key to this game. I think they have to really force the issue against Japan. Vic?
Yes. Time for some pin trading. Kathy Borst. A reminder, you can keep up to date on the Ford Worlds, player profiles, scores, standings. It's all available to you. Our season of champions on the World Wide Web. And our web address is www.tsn.ca/curling. Canada has won 10 World Championships. Kathy Borst will try and make it 11. And she takes another step toward that goal as she plays Japan when we come back to Kamloops here on TSN.
The 1998 Ford World Curling Championships on TSN are brought to you by Ford Motor Company of Canada Limited, by Canadian Imperial Bank of Commerce, seeing beyond, by Labatt, Good Things Brewing, and by Simonize Car Care Products. If you care, Simonize it. Simonize is available exclusively at Canadian Tire.
We're at the Riverside Coliseum, a beautiful facility here in Kamloops. We were here a couple of years ago, of course, for the Labatt Brier. Nice to be back at Kamloops, and our featured game is on Sheet A. We've noticed at night, last night, for example, in the game featuring Canada, there was some frost buildup. Will there be today? Let's read the ice with Ray, brought to you by Canadian Airlines.
Well, I don't think there's any question there will be some, Vic. It's a good ice surface. We didn't have this last night, this sheet. The curl, we can only watch it in practice, and it's been the same all week. About 4 around the center. They'll take on the edge of that 8-foot and hold the room there to get to the button. Around the corners, you got about 5 feet. And they finish pretty well. Got to have rotation. Now, last night on this sheet, there's no question Graham McCarroll was convinced, and I'm sure he's right, that on this side, closest to the stand, it was a full second heavier. So when you went out into this area here to draw, you really had to be careful, because coming down here, it was a little quicker. It's a very big game for both. You've got to keep your weight up. They'll run straight from the outside in and break at the finish. This is an interesting game. It's a big game for both teams, actually. Japan must get started.
And Kathy Borst and her team, I think, need a little bit of a confidence boost as they sit at 2-1, trailing the 3 leaders, Denmark, Sweden, and Germany. Yoko Mamura throws the lead stones for Japan, Kate Horn for Canada. It's Akemi Niwa who will throw the second stone for Japan as they rotate their front end. Brenda Bomer, a very strong second for the Canadians. It's Kiko Kato and Heather Godberson at third, and the 29-year-old skip Mayumi Ohkutsu from the Tokoro Curling Club, and Canada's Kathy Borst out of the Otwell in Edmonton. Canada has won the coin toss. They're playing the Yellowstones, and so they will have the hammer, the last rock, here in this first. And it's Ohkutsu who calls the shot into the rings for her lead, Yoko Mamura.
And this is Yoko's first game, because they do rotate the leads around, and they had played a different lineup in the first 3 games. And that may be, Ray, one way to kind of shake things up if the team's struggling a little bit, bring in a different player.
Well, I know you've noticed this because you are the stats lady, and you work hard on those stats, and I'm proud of you. But the big spread is at the second position, Linda, where Brenda has played so well, and the Japanese second has not. So when you have a hole like that, it really can make a big difference. Now, I honestly believe, though, that the very first game against Germany, I believe it was, Linda, the Japanese team controlled the whole game. In the 8th end, she was drawing to get 2 points and go up 2 in that game, playing 9. And her rock, for some reason, over curled, and she raised the German team in for 1. So instead of being 2 up, playing 9, she was 1 down, which is a big spread. And sometimes, and you can answer this better than anyone else because you've done so much skipping, is that can really play on your mind. We said in the opening comments that the game, these teams are technically very strong, both teams, and we'll talk about the Japanese team in particular. They know how to throw it. They got good rotation on their rocks, so they know the game from that point of view. But the game moves from the hands to the head. And you have to be able to, control all those things and all those emotions. And I think that Mayumi is feeling a lot of extra pressure on her this particular event than in the past. And that's where Elaine Dag-Jackson's job is really tough, getting them up, because they've been here, they've been working so hard at this since October.
Just watch this one, okay?
into the rings. So it's an up and down the sheet.
Kate Horn.
You're right, Ray, that as a skip, there are so many little things that change the way you play and the way you throw. And often they are related to mistakes you have made that you can't park, as we say in sport. And hopefully for both teams, they can park some of the things that have gone wrong the first 2 days and come out and play a great game
That's
for
better,
us.
9.5. This one was 8.7.
You talk about, Vic, you talk about, you know, the best ball players in the world go into slumps, you know, and the best pitchers have those series of games where they can't get the curveball across. They can't get they can't place the ball where they want to. Well, the same thing is here. You get in a zone. Let's use the best example possible, Graham McCarroll. If he isn't in a zone, I don't know what a zone is. I mean, he's just, I said to him last night in the interview, you know, I mean, the rings are the size of the building down there. He could put it anywhere. And when you're struggling, boy, it's tough.
Niwa with the miss. So I find this interesting. Linda Canada could very well with Hammer go and split the rings, but she's going to put up the corner guard.
And this is a situation you have to determine how the best way is to generate the extra point. It's still early in the end with Brenda Bomer still throwing, and they've decided that they don't want to just split the rings and risk a rollout. They would prefer to protect and hope that later in the end they can put the second one in.
Whoa, good. Whoa. Shot, girl. Came down big. Yeah,
it's a very nice shot. It's a great corner guard protecting the entire stone in the house, and Japan will take it off.
With Akemi Niwa throwing the second stone. Well, you know, look, this Japanese team was 6-3 last year in Bern. They make it through to the semi-final. They lose there, but then they lose the bronze game to finish 6-5. There are lots of teams, professional teams in all sports, that have gone from, as they suggest, the penthouse to the bottom after very successful years, and it's due the pressure sometimes put on themselves.
It's penthouse to back house?
Well, the odd outhouse it would have been. The basement, I was still mourning in some places. Brenda Bomer.
It was a nice roll by Japan. We're going to try and roll it back, Canada.
She needed to roll it, be in the rings.
Sorry, I thought you said off.
Helena Black, Claverson, Elizabeth Gustafsson, Sweden, Denmark. They are both 3-0 also on the ice. Drea Schopp has looked impressive so far. She's won her 3. Plays Switzerland. The USA, Carrie Eriksson, will try and win her first against the two-time world champion, Dorothy Nordby. And Finland, Jana Jokela, can she win her first against Kirsty Hay and Scotland? Those are the other games here in this women's fourth draw of play. These Ford Worlds in Kamloops.
And there's the break Canada needed to be able to try and split in that front one and get the 2 points going again.
Where are we going?
No, we're splitting
the other
this
way.
one. We're splitting our front yellow.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd say 13.5.
Yeah. Okay.
Try and split that rock in, the yellow rock in front. Try and catch it on the corner. Pushing it into the rings on the in 12-foot area. And rolling the shooter over into the 12-foot on the other side.
Got the weight.
Out turn for Heather Godfredson, the
Got the weight. Yes, line.
world junior champion.
Back in.
Bomer's on the left, Horn on the right, looking to get the split here in this first, with Hammer trying to get their deuce.
Go, Katie. Go, Katie.
Got him on, they did. Very nice, Heather Godfredson.
Nice way to start. Akiko.
Kato, and happy birthday to Akiko, who today turns 20.
It really does curl. Ray has talked about the curl in this ice, and especially going towards the stands. I think we're going to see a lot of movement, even with takeout weight. Both skips will have to make those adjustments.
I think she played the smarter of the two turns there, though, Linda.
And it's going to be tricky with either, straight with the one and swinging with the other for sure. You saw that Heather's numbers were third amongst the thirds. The top third at the moment is Katarina Nyberg from Sweden, and then Margit Portner from Denmark is in second place.
Hard, girls. Gotta go, gotta go, gotta go.
That very pivotal third position, of course, is one we often watch in matchups. And in this matchup, Heather does have the edge over Aikiko.
Borst has jumped out as well as they try and drag it there, but Godberson will come up light.
Into the frost, you heard her say. Little things in this game play such a big role.
Nice shot, the first one. Big difference in kicks. Where's your first kick? Oh, 50s. You got 80 in there? 90. Ooh.
No matter. Oh. Yep. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Mayumi has struggled a lot with draw weight. Her takeouts have been very solid so far. But with the ice conditions changing, Ray, as you have mentioned to us, that is not unusual to see draw weight be the stat that is the lowest amongst the skips.
And we saw in the early ends of last night's game, the Canadian game against Switzerland, Wayne struggled with draw in the early part of that game himself, and Ian Tetley, who is normally Mr. Automatic, he struggled as well. So, I mean, that sheet of ice, as Graham pointed out to us very clearly, was a second slower on the stand side than it was going down the other side. And so that's something that you have to adjust to. And that's part of the sport, being able to adjust to the condition changes.
Straight up. No roll, no roll. Whoa.
Which is no different from any other game. Of course, you hit that long, low drive off the tee box, Victor, so the wind never bothers you on the golf course.
No, but I kill a lot of snakes. They have to keep their heads down.
Moving there, good. Yeah.
And often numbers for the skip are also affected by the fact that Aikiko, the Japanese third, is struggling a bit. That sets up some tougher shots for the skip.
And she'll hang it on the edge of the 12. Now, we've had a debate among ourselves that we want to get you involved in. And this is from us to you, this AT&T email. Would you rather see all the Canadian games to their conclusion, or if a Canadian game gets out of sight, or it looks like the Canadians were going to win it handily, or possibly lose it, certainly, would you prefer us to move somewhere else? There's some that feel we should stick with Canada until the handshakes, regardless of where the score is. Others feel that, boy, if it's out of reach, one way or the other, go to the next best game. We'd like your opinion of what we should do. And so email us, please. Let us know what you think.
Blank.
And it looks like that one's out, and
It
a blank
is.
for Canada.
Here in the first against Japan, it was set up for a possible 2, but then Heather Godberson came up light with her second stone. Canada holds on to the hammer here in Kamloops.
So.
Kamloops, the meeting place of the North and South Thompson Rivers, and the site of the Ford Worlds 1998. And we're here on a Monday morning. It's the women's fourth draw as we update all the scores for you. This game featuring 2 of the unbeaten. Denmark with the early lead, Helena Black-Laversen against Elisabeth Gustafsson. Germany, Andrea Schopp scores 3 against Christina Lestander from Zug, Switzerland. Norway with the early lead on Carrie Erickson from Bemidji, Minnesota. And Scotland gets 1 against Finland and winless Jana Nokala. A blank in our game means Canada holds on to the hammer here in the second.
And they are playing up and down the sheet with Japan bringing the first rock in. We've seen an exchange of takeouts, a nice roll to the 12-foot for Canada. It's obvious Japan has a game plan, Ray, and that's to keep it very open. They actually, as you mentioned in that game against Germany, it was a very low-scoring game. Japan losing 3-2 and had a chance to win that. It has appeared that that has been their plan in other games as well.
Linda, what's the difference with this Canadian team? I mean, they're 2-1 and, as we say, by their own admission, not playing very well. What's the difference between them here and the Scott Tournament of Hearts? And does it have to do anything, do you think, with the 4-rock rule, or is it just, I sometimes think it's the competition itself.
I will agree with you that the competition at the world level is different, and one of the difficulties is teams here do play a different style, and they're a little inconsistent with the way they call a game. And against Finland, for example, the game was fairly open, and there were some strategy situations that you might disagree with Finland, and sometimes you find yourself getting pulled into a game plan you don't want. But for Canada, I think the two major things are a little bit inconsistent with the way they're playing, and that is partly the burnout factor. It's a long season. But secondly, I don't see them playing the same style of game. I think they need to put some more rocks in play. It's obvious here that Kathy's waiting to do that. I don't think I'd wait very long. Now, when I showed you those early stats for the women about how many draws they've played overall, Canada at 38% of their total shots as draws. To show you on the men's side, the Canadian men are at 50%. They are putting more rocks in play and trying to generate their offense earlier.
We know, Ray, that, and Linda just mentions it, that if you're going to play Wayne Middaugh, you've got to be ready from first stone, because he's going to put the pressure on you.
Absolutely.
So in effect, do you think that Borst should do that?
Well,
I mean, why are we waiting?
Yeah, I think, I certainly think she should, Vic. I think that you're playing a team like Japan that's intimidated a little bit by Canada. I mean, a lot of the countries are always a little bit nervous when they play Canada. This field has a lot of experience, so that may not be as big a factor as it is sometimes, Linda. But no, I think it's dangerous for, and Linda makes a really good point, and she dug out of those stats, the draw percentages, and that's really an interesting story. On the way down, we talked about it in the car, Linda and I, and it really does tell a story that she's not playing. Victor, think back to how she played Sandra, for example. She knew that you know, the only way that she had a chance to beat the best women's team in the world was to really mix it up with her, and she did that on numerous occasions, and had some good success against the Schmerler team. But she's been so hesitant to do that here. Now, Japan getting away from their plan, obviously, Linda, a little bit by coming up short because it was called for in the rings, gives Kathy Borst a chance now to play a come around. Now, you are playing in the 4-foot area, but that's fine. That's where this game is played so often now under the 4-rock rule. Canada with last rock. Heather Gubberson throwing.
I'm wide.
And I have said before that I think Heather and her shots may be a huge key to this team as well, because she does get them fired up. If she can find draw weight here as we watch the rock clock tick, we'll see what it is on this side of the ice. 14 has been the average draw speed, and that looks like it will be on that side to start the game as well. If she can get some of these draws buried in the top of the 4-foot for her skipper, I think that will also get Canada going.
What'd you get, Brandon?
So we've talked a lot about ice speed because of the frost and the various factors. This is brought to you by Karsher for sheet A. We're talking about 13.5 to 14 for draw, and we'll watch the two sides of the sheet. 9.5 for takeout, 12 for hack, and about 15.5 to 16 for guard. And we can watch the sheet very carefully to see what it's like for the morning draw, and also we'll watch it during the day to see changes for you.
That red rock was wide open for Akiko, and she obviously just threw it inside or underthrew it because she hit the front rock. This gives Canada a great opportunity to split the rings and lie to. Heather missed a draw to the rings last end in the same type of situation, so we got to make sure we make this one.
Line looks good.
Yeah, that's a huge break that you don't normally anticipate getting. You're actually hoping that they don't get a little hit and flop on those kinds of shots. And it's an open miss for Japan.
T. Hurry. Hard, 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 hard. Right down. Right down. Good.
T-line, 8 foot.
You hate to give those gifts away. If they're going to score points against them, you like to make them work for them the old-fashioned way. As Vic said yesterday, it's when you give something away, it's tough to accept.
The thing too, Linda Ray, is that with their schedule as tough as it is, and I'm speaking of Canada, with Germany, Sweden, Scotland still ahead, teams, and they, the only game they lost was to Denmark, and Denmark is one of those undefeated teams. You certainly don't want to go into those games, I would think, with any doubts, Linda, that Canada wants to build something, get on some kind of a roll, so they take that with them.
I agree with you, especially the feel for draw weight. Those sorts of things you want to have really in your back pocket so you don't have to think about them. Japan's going to roll out on that hit. And the one thing, though, Vic, about the World Championships, and unfortunately at this time of year it happens more and more, sometimes you play to your opponent. That's what I was talking about, both style of play and the way you're playing. And sometimes it doesn't hurt you a bit to know that you're coming out against Sweden and that they're a great team, two-time world champion, and that you have to play well because often you will bring your game up. So it can kind of be a two-edged situation, but you're right. They want to get it on track here.
Ray, how do you avoid getting sucked into another team's style of play?
T9.
Well, the one thing I think a lot of curlers don't do is go into a game with some kind of a game plan and approach each end knowing what mode they're in. I've said this so often at clinics, Linda, that we've worked at, is that you've got to approach each end. Now, what mode am I in? Am I on the offense? Am I on the defense? And when you decided that, then you play accordingly. Where a lot of teams will go out, wait for that first shot to be played, and then kind of decide around that shot what they're going to be doing. To try and force the game. And to answer your question, Vic, it's sometimes difficult, especially with the 4-rock rule, to get to play your own kind of game. But you can, if you keep it in mind, you can force. For example, I said last night about playing teams like Martin and Nadal, for example, in that 4-foot area, and letting them get the rocks so grouped and get the angles on things.
I was kind of soft. I thought it was going to be a little short, so that probably was 14.
So well. So because
your hair was the right height, so
they then can utilize that big weapon they have. So with them, you're trying to hopefully, as opposed to playing inside that 4-foot, try and force it if you can to the outside. To the outside a little bit more, just not be grouping them, So you have to. It's not easy. It's not easy, but it's.
hers was firm.
And the one thing, of course, that would help you do it is that you have to execute it. You really have to make the shots.
Yeah, that's true, Linda. I mean, it doesn't matter if you, whatever your strategy is, if your team isn't playing well, you're not going to win. And that was one of the things about this Borst team. Their execution at the Scott Tournament of Hearts in Regina was brilliant, and they were absolutely the best team all week and full deserving of their win. And now have a chance with a hit and stick for 2 here in the second to take advantage of that Japanese crash and wreck on the center line guard.
Yep, control. Yep. Yeah. Hard. Hard. Hurry. Right up, girls. Right up. Good shot, Cass.
And right there for 2 for Canada here in the second. Kathy Borst, Canada, here at the Ford Worlds, are on the board and leading 2-0. Let's begin our updates with Denmark and Sweden. And Denmark, Sweden, both teams at 3-0. Helena Black-Laversen with the hammer. Opened with 1 in the first. This is the final stone for the 2-time world champion from Umeå, Sweden, Elisabeth Gustafsson. And this is an open draw for 2, and she has a 2-1 lead over Denmark, both at 3-0. Germany against Switzerland. Andrea Schopp from Garmisch-Partenkirchen opened with 3 with the hammer in the first. She's at 3-0 playing Switzerland, and Christina Lechstander from Zug, Switzerland at 1-2. Final stone for the Swiss skip. Former Swiss champion is in trouble here. It'll slide too far, and it'll be a steal of 2 red. 2 for Germany, and Schopp looking to go to 4-0 and up 5-0 quickly. Norway, Dorthe Nordby looking to win her 3rd and possibly hand the U.S. their 4th straight loss, leading there. And Finland trying to win their 1st against Kirsty Hay of Perth, Scotland. Canada scores 2. In the 2nd, Japan, for the first time in the game, has the hammer as we play here in the 3rd.
Well, it was strictly execution, Linda, that caused the extra point, a miss, and that's a nice way to get it when you play an open end and all of a sudden you get a miss and pick up the extra point. It's wonderful.
And now it will be up to Japan to make the first move as far as being aggressive. Canada will be happy to be playing hits, as we're seeing in this end.
And just for our viewers that, you know, maybe many of you know, of course, because you're with us all year long, but for those of you that don't curl a lot or not with us a lot, I mean, what we mean by aggressive, for example, Vic, is instead of removing that stone, your options are to throw up a corner guard out in front into the free guard zone area, or if that sounds a little too risky, considering that stone is close to the center line in front of the tee line, then you could just tap it back, push it back behind the tee line, keeping it in play, hoping to maybe get a jam. And those are the kind of things you're going to have to do, because in this situation, Kathy Borst is very prepared to just play up and down the sheet and keep it open. She's got a 2-point lead. It's controlled, not a big control, but it's control.
The Japanese 2nd is Akemi Niwa. Well, I'm sure Elaine Dag-Jackson, the coach of this Japanese team, Linda, you know her well, out of Victoria, has a definite plan in mind. She's taking this team step by step. It's a progression. When do you take this team to the next step and push or try to instill other curling thoughts on them?
I guess what I was thinking about the team is I think last year at the World Championships they did play differently, and I think Ray has really hit on the nose what's going on here, and that is the pressure of the situation, the pressure of the year, the amount of curling, everything rolled into one. And I think what Elaine is doing here is saying to herself, this team has been through so much. I'm going to try and settle it down a bit by keeping things a little simpler. Now the problem is, as in the Germany game, Japan playing Germany in the first round, one mistake, a fairly big mistake, and that can cost you with this style of play. So you have to take everything into consideration, but I do think Japan's going to have to make a bigger move in this game against Canada.
This email brought to you by AT&T Canada from Barrie, Ontario. What playing experience does Elaine Dag-Jackson have?
Well, she's a fine curler herself. Her father, Lyle Dag, won the 1964 Canadian and World Championships, but most of her recognition has come through coaching, and she worked with Pat Sanders when Pat won the 1987 World Championship. Pat out of Victoria as well. And then Julie Sutton in 1991 reached the World Final for Canada, got the silver medal, and got the bronze medal in the Olympic Games in Albertville in 1992. And she works a lot with coaching programs in BC as well as with this Japanese team.
And it was on a tour of Japan with Julie that I think she gained some of her notoriety.
Yeah, she's a very, very nice curler, but really hasn't won anything competitively from that point of view, Kim. But she's spent a lot of time
control up, isn't it?
training and understanding this game, and she's very prepared, a very good coach. And mechanically, as a teacher, she's very strong. I've watched her teach, and you've been with her, Linda, in the past. She's a very good teacher, so she's done a wonderful job with the Japanese teams, along with husband Glenn, who competitively was a wonderful curler and still is a good curler, but curled with Paul Galso through his wonderful years. World Junior Champion.
And I am one of those people that is a very strong believer in coaching, whatever role you believe a coach should play. There's lots of different roles they can take on for a team. Kathy and her team have Daryl Horn helping them out, and of course Canada sends a team leader, Lindsay Sparks, with the team. whatever it is, whether it's technical help, tactical help with the strategy, the game plan, or just trying to help the team meld when situations get difficult during the week, help you talk about some of the things that happen. I am a very firm believer in bringing a coach to a championship.
It can be very frustrating for a coach too, Vic, you know, because you've been over and over all those scenarios. When you get down, things happen. You're going to have to switch from that defense to the offense. And when they don't do those kind of things, you're sitting behind the glass and, in this case, behind the sheet. And it's frustrating. It's tough to watch.
And there is Elaine Dag-Jackson.
Not bad. I just don't
She's sitting with Jean Friesen from Saskatchewan, who has worked with the Japanese teams along with Elaine over the course of the last few years.
Be a little softer than control.
Japan, really, you have to commend them. Ray, you were one of the first to go over and teach over there, and they've made a very strong commitment to the game to try and improve both their coaching staff now and, of course, the players.
Yeah, that's right. And my good friend Wally Erslick, he was over there 6-7 years in a row before I went, and they really have worked hard, and they will be. They are the nation of the future as far as big numbers are concerned. This game will take off. When they get some of those facilities built, you'll see the numbers multiply. And when that happens, that generates competition, high-level competition among themselves, and that's what's happening here in Canada. And the next thing you know, you're winning world championships, and that's going to happen.
Roll this way a little bit would be a little more,
Well, unfortunately for Mayumi, that curled too much. Aikiko was right. They should have been sweeping that hard to try and get it, if not by, not to hit it quite as hard.
surprised she didn't bang that on the nose with that ice. If you cut more than that, I would see it.
Kathy referring to the fact that she thought Japan did not have enough ice.
Final stone for the Canadian skip.
Same way.
Here in 3.
Hurry. Whoa. Yep.
Good shot. Good shot.
Yeah, that just ran nice.
Quite a few curlers have been the guest of Michael Landsberg on his show Off the Record. Comes your way today at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, 3 p.m. Pacific. Angelo Mosca is one of those on.
Angela Mosca. Hamilton Tiger Cat.
This one's really taking off.
Yellow.
Execution. The Japanese are having their problems. Kathy Borst in Canada, now up by 3.
Better be in school. It's okay.
There are still some snow-capped mountains. They're skiing at Sun Peaks, not far away from Kamloops. Updating Denmark and Sweden as they play in the third. 2-1 Sweden leading. Both teams at 3-0 coming in, and this is the final stone for the former world champion, Helena Black-Laversen, coming off her silver medal performance at the Nagano Olympics and drawing against 2, and she'll put it back 4, back button for a single and a 2-2 tie. Germany and Switzerland. All Germany so far opened with 3, then stole 2. Andrea Schopp is the final stone for the Swiss skip. Christina Lechtander from 2 down 5-0 and gets herself righted with a couple here in the third. Still Schopp in control, 5-2. And the steal of 1 for Canada on the rollout by Japan. Has Canada in front 3-0, and the Japanese do have the hammer playing 4.
Well, we saw a little move, Linda.
A nice move, too. Canada brought the first one in. That's the Yellowstone in the house. And Japan threw up the corner guard, tight to the rings, but still a good corner. Canada drew a second one in, and a lovely hit and roll by Japan to get behind the guard. Now, Brenda can play this back, and there's not a lot of separation between the stones.
Hard, Kath. Hard, Kath, all the way out. Far as can go. Right up.
Sorry, Brad.
Good job.
Thought that would curl more.
Brenda Bomer.
Just thought it would curl more.
Now, this is an interesting call here, Linda. You definitely can play what she's playing, hitting and rolling over to lie 2. But I think a more aggressive call here is just to freeze to the face of it. Just come down, sit on top of it, force Canada to make the play.
Sure, and even if you tapped it back a foot, it still would be a difficult shot to remove.
Akemi Niwa.
Well, you don't have to say anything. You know what happened.
Actually, Brenda, that week was up a little. I didn't realize it until I looked at my watch.
Terrific numbers from Brenda, and that last one was basically perfect. Just a little bit too much ice. So
Control.
Continued good play by the
that's
Canadian
good.
second.
Godberson backs off as she gets squeezed by the board. And nice shot by Bomer.
And that's one of those advantages of having sweepers on both sides of the stone. If you were both on the board side, you'd both get squeezed, Vic. So good point to show that Kate could hang in there with the sweeping, and a nice shot.
I didn't know I was doing well there, but thanks very much.
You are so on top of things. You know, the pressure and burnout of the World Championships has not affected you a bit. I am so proud of you.
Of course, he gets outside and gets a lot of fresh air and things of that nature. Linda, we're stuck in the little studio here and gets to meet all kinds of people on the street.
And I have to keep getting these numbers. It's a tough job.
Okay, we'll throw control.
Good numbers for Heather, and Akiko is struggling.
I expected it to go. No, you see them both good.
Of course, I'm taking full credit for all the stats that have ever been generated in curling. And really, it's very nice again here. The host committee has the computers on board for this. Brian Cassidy isn't with us for this event. Hello to Brian if he's watching, and thank you for a good season as CCA head statistician. But
yes, for sure, that's clear. Brian has been tremendous help to us, Linda.
Wonderful, and of course, it isn't me just getting those numbers out of the computer. Our associate producer Maria Maida and Carrie, our little typist, as we love to call her, Bulau, on Chiron, putting those numbers up for me. Thank you very much.
Less weight. Control. Still control. Control firm. Less weight.
Heather Godberson here in the fourth, 3-0, Canada leading.
Well, with the early jam, the Japan had a small chance earlier to get deuce, but
Good shot, Heather.
the decision to play the hit, then the jam really turned the end around, and now it's an up and down, and Heather Godberson makes a good hit and roll to the button.
Akiko Kato coming off her silver medal performance at the Star Choice World Juniors in Thunder Bay, losing to Canada's Melissa McClure from Grand Falls, New Brunswick in the championship game. First ever medal for Japan in curling.
And I had a nice chat with Akiko on Friday, and she was saying, Vic, that she thought the key to their win in Thunder Bay was the fact that they were so relaxed. And we're saying it's obvious here that it's easy to say, let's go and have fun and be relaxed. At the World Juniors, they were able to do that, but the pressure on Mayumi and the girls here has really affected them, and try as they might to just say, let's relax and play and have a bit of fun, it is not easy.
Kathy Borst with her first will sit right there.
Yeah.
T-line, edge of the button. Earlier we wanted to know from you what you thought. Should we stay with Canadian games to their conclusion, whether they be out of reach one way or the other? Oh, and interesting that so far from those responding, get out of there. Move somewhere else.
Well, we'll just tell our viewers that we've had this discussion among the crew with some of our crew members, our camera people, yourselves, Vic, and our directors and producers. And Linda and I feel that you should move as well, and some of the other people feel that you should stay with Canada. And it's nice to see that at this early stage of the poll that the country is agreeing to a certain degree with
you like to practice? Where are we going? I like putting it right here.
the color commentators.
No.
Let's get you draw. Wait, quick.
Point that out.
No, I just
It only makes it
to
better
touch
if
on
you
it
draw
briefly as we watch Kathy Borst go down
Here?
to play this
We want it on this
open
side.
draw to the rings.
Here? Yeah.
Is that if the team is up 10-1 or 8-2, and the game is basically almost over, you're into the 7th or 8th end, then and there are good games out there. I mean, even if you're not a curler, you can appreciate the drama of a curling game as it progresses through 7, 8, 9, and 10. And then you've got Scotland playing Norway, and it's 3-3. Then I think you should go and cover that and watch it. And we're entertainment, and I think that's more entertaining. It doesn't mean that defending a situation isn't a skill. And I know we're Canadian Network. We're here to watch Canada, and we're going to be with Canada wherever they go. But in those kind of situations, it's kind of, that game is almost over. And if it ever did switch back quickly, we'd be back quickly.
Line's good, line's good.
I just think there's so much entertainment out here, and we want our viewers to see it.
Okay, good, Brian.
And maybe from a selfish point of view, I want to see
We
it.
want to go over there. Our policy is at virtually every event where there is more than one sheet of play in action, we move to the best game. And that's regardless of the allegiances provincially, of course, during the national events. And that is what our policy has been so far here. But we'd love to hear from more of you if you'd like to send us your opinion.
Especially those people on the no side.
I was waiting for that.
You're a cheater. We tried to do all that diplomatically.
You
were
yes
just
people
blunt.
get it. Just the no people we want to hear from now.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Looking for the blank. One more turn. No, it'll hang around the 12 for 1 for Japan here in the 4th. Mayumi Ohkutsu and the team from Tokoro pick up 1 in Kamloops, where Canada gets the hammer back as we go to the 5th. Welcome back to the Riverside Coliseum and TSN's coverage of these Ford Worlds as we quickly go to the game between Norway and the USA as they play in the 4th. Norway, Dordi Nordby, leading 3-1 over Kerry Erickson and the team from Bemidji, Minnesota. Norway, playing the Red Stones, has the hammer. And as you look at the house, every stone is in play.
2 stones on the edge of the button. The red stone belonging to Norway. The Swedish USA stone at the back. It's yellow. I've got Sweden on the brain. And it is really hard to see who is shot rock. But the other difficult thing for Dordi is how do you try to get near that button?
Now, are you looking at this? And we're moving our camera into position to get a better look. It is something that's left Nordby and her third, Hannah Woods, shaking their heads. Maybe she's got nothing and she's just going to throw it away.
Every rock, it's amazing.
Doherty loves to play the game. She says, I love to have fun, and it is the Norwegian stone that is shot rock edge of the button, and it does appear that she's just going to throw it away.
And that's why this is Canada's most comprehensive curling coverage. Our thanks to our crew for getting in position, and she is going to throw it away. Norway will score one here in this fourth. The only thing she could have promoted up were yellow stones, it seems, and that would have been the danger. So she'll settle for her one against the U.S. and Eriksson, Doherty, Nordby, and Norway will lead it 4-1 after 4. Update for you, Finland and Scotland as they play in the fourth. Kirsty Hay from Perth with a 1-0 lead. And pardon me, this is in the third end of play. Scotland getting their one in the first. They blanked the second. This is the final stone for the Finnish fourth stone thrower, Anna Erikainen. And she'll make the hit for one and a 1-1 tie. Jana Jokela is the skip, but it's Erikainen who throws the fourth stone here at these Ford Worlds as you get yourself caught up on the other scores in this women's fourth draw, nearing the midway point, and Germany still up by 3 on Switzerland. And we have rocks in play now in the fifth. Canada leading 3-1, and the team from the Otwell Curling Club in Edmonton has the hammer.
And it really was two lovely shots by Kate Horn, the Canadian lead, that got in behind the guard. First of all, that Japan had put up, and then put it top 12 foot to protect the path on the one side. Japan did get the draw to the top 4 foot, and Brenda's going to try and tap back that red stone that is just about fully into the 4 foot.
What a good shot this is.
This is wonderful execution, and this is more the style of play that I have seen Canada, this Kathy Godberson rink play. Terrific shot, Brenda.
That isn't a good shot. That's a great shot. You can certainly, as Kathy Borst said, great shot, and you can certainly use that word for that shot. It was a sensational shot. Little roll really puts the Japanese in big time trouble. Canada with advantage of the last rock, up 3-1, lying 3.
Akemi Niwa.
And she can see 3/4 of the stone, maybe even a little bit more. So if she hits what she can see, she can get the 2 top ones out.
Nomura, Kato.
See it spin back a bit.
963. Real straight. This will short is good. This will hang.
Anywhere
slowly.
short's good.
Yeah, it's quick. And it'll hang. I'd say 13.7.
We're not seeing as big a difference from one side of the sheet to the other in the morning draws. That's because the frost isn't creeping in. It's still about half a second difference, perhaps.
Mine's dead.
It's just about
12.
a couple of feet difference. It's not as big.
Move it back. I'll let it
It's got a bend.
Coming down, 12.
Yeah. Yeah. Hard. Hurry. Hurry.
Oh, that died.
I'm gonna get it around the red one.
Okay, I don't think it'll go. Damn, that died.
I think she's got to play this one back, Linda. There's no question about that. Try and drive it back onto the top one here and try and catch the back one.
Akiko Kato now lives in Victoria.
Gee, that's bad break. She almost got them both.
785 on that.
You like this short?
Coming up this evening on TSN at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, 5 p.m. Pacific, it's Super Bouts. George Foreman,
Top 12.
Tommy Morrison, Lennox
Come in there,
Lewis,
there's a double.
Tyrell Briggs.
Right, just
Super
short.
Bouts tonight on
Not
TSN.
14T, right?
I wonder if Mr. Lewis is ever going to get his crack at the title of Mr. Holyfield.
I think 70 will put you in.
Money will be a big factor, I would think.
Isn't it in everything these days?
Heather Godberson.
Yep.
Line's good.
Lots of line.
Not in.
Lots of line. Got him in.
Watch it.
Yep.
Just
Just peeking in at Finland, Scotland as they play the fourth of a 1-1 tie. This is the final stone for the Scottish skip from Perth, Kirsty Hay.
No double. Good shot.
Looking as she made the double, she possibly could get two, but she jammed it, and she'll settle for one at the back of the 8-foot. So Scotland with a 2-1 lead over Finland through 4.
I think she maybe will get 3 actually. Vic.
Yeah, there was another one at the top of the
Sorry.
house too. Yeah, no,
That's
they,
okay.
they
No,
were
no.
ringing the 12-foot. It was difficult to tell, but that was a big shot for Kirsty.
You're actually just our name expert, so we don't expect you to. Speaking of names, Vic, where are you going to be staying when you go home? You're so good with those Finnish names, but I understand you're in a little trouble at home now.
Yeah. Well, the other folks were with us when Canada was playing the United States. I was talking to the U.S. team, and Kerry Erickson said, yes, we played your wife in a bonspiel in London, Ontario, and we beat her. And so I go on the air and I say exactly that until the phone rang in the hotel. What is that? We beat them. So
you were given the bad information.
I was
so-
given, of
so
course,
Daddy,
bad information
please forgive him.
Yeah.
Let him come home.
because they don't want me anymore here.
Another jam too. The first hit that went down there that they had the chance for the double really was a little bit of bad luck. It looks like it was going to curl just enough and get them, spill them both off. But Canada placing their stones in pretty good position.
79.
Now those two are overlapped in front, Linda, so the run back is not any longer a possibility. So a good guard will really close this end off.
Whoa. Where is it? You want a toppy? You want it right in here.
Yep. Hard.
Come on.
The curl here is very late. That's why they're trying to drag it so far at the end.
Okay.
Once again, you can see that almost at all. It's a fine shot, but you got a chance to hit it to just a touch off the center and maybe kill the rock on the 4-foot. Hit this one here, not on that side. Come across here, catching that one, pushing it that way, and they go that way.
How much danger is that possibility of a jam at the back?
Not a great danger, actually, Vic.
I think the main thing is to try and get these ones, the one off the 4-foot for sure. Try and get things rolling, open it up. There are 2 other redstones in the house.
Is the front one in, Lou? The little one biting in the front?
I think so.
Naomi Ohkutsu.
Just very straight down that edge of the 4-foot band.
There's a little too much ice.
That angle too. Just split it more even here.
Yeah, that's nice.
That redstone that I was talking about can be promoted onto shot
Just got
rock.
a chance for the wick and roll in. Where's that red
hit and roll. No, if we roll the shooter back here a bit, you know, as long as we stay second shot with it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I just don't like it's hard to get in there.
Yeah, I know. Well,
Let's try it.
okay. So you're just throwing like back 8.
Back 8.
Just going to tap it over.
Okay. Oh, we're gonna push. Okay. It's maybe a little split, eh?
I'm trying to wick it over.
Okay.
We got to take the shooter behind the one that we're...
Just going to try and push this one just over slightly into this area here. And roll the shooter over into this area here.
You gave Heather more ice than that.
The concern is the red one can be promoted back if they put a guard out in front of the house. Japan could make the raise. So she's trying to get a second one in there.
Kathy Borst.
Not the way you see there. On its own!
Where is it?
We got a shot back in! Yes! Force! Hurry! Hurry! Hard! Hard!
And this one caught the curl.
Quick! Hard! Yep! Take ours! Take ours! Take ours! Take ours! Go! 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 Not too far. We shouldn't have taken too close. Why'd that go?
I don't know.
Had more weight. She doesn't know why.
Holy cow.
Well, if that curls a little bit further, then you're going to... The Red Rock's going to be...
Perfect weight. Just went.
It's going to be third shot, as opposed to the yellow being third shot in front. Chance to come through, get a little hit and roll. Lie two.
Kathy was quite concerned about that. That's why they had been protecting that shot stone, hoping that with their last one they would get that second point and wouldn't have to get in earlier, because they were a little afraid of that spot. We'll see if Mayumi can find the right ice to get the flop.
Whoa! 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 Yep! Yep! Let's hold it! Yep! Yep! Hold it! Yeah! Whoa! 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 Nice shot!
Very nice shot indeed. Boy, this end turned around, didn't it, Linda?
It sure did. It kind of snuck up on Canada. They had a couple of chances to get rocks in position. And just a little bit of a struggle with the ice again, finding the
You were
spot to
here
put
last
the bird.
time.
Okay, that should be good then.
Brent, let's make sure that one was a 48 kick, Brent. I don't understand that.
So where was that one?
Well, I'd say T-line. At least, yeah. But out here, it's quicker.
It's quicker out here?
It came into the curl fast.
I don't know if it's quicker out
Runs for a
there.
long time.
Is it possible that
I wouldn't think
days,
it's quicker out
mornings,
there.
and nights are that much different? And
I think they're referring to the spot in the ice that's straight, that it slides a bit at first because it's so straight, and then once it starts to curl, the curl is what's taking the weight off. I don't think they mean that this spot is fast, because this is the slightly heavier side of the sheet.
Where? Back 8! Mine's good!
Yep, gotta go. Yep.
drawing against a couple.
Clean.
Nice
Clean.
looking
Yep.
shot.
Gotta go back to
Yep,
Gotta
right
go
to
back.
this one. Yep, yep,
Yes,
yep.
you do. No, you can't go.
Back four for a single point for Canada. And Kathy Borst here in the fifth. So they'll go to the fifth end break. Canada, with a 2-1 record coming in, are up 4-1 on the Japanese, looking for their first win here in Kamloops.
The 1998 Ford World Curling Championships on TSN are brought to you by Ford Motor Company of Canada Limited, by Star Choice, Canada's leader in digital satellite television, and by AT&T Canada. AT&T Canada, it's all within your reach.
That, of course, is happy birthday in Japanese for Akiko Kato, who today turns 20. Happy birthday to her as well. The silver medalist at the Star Choice World Juniors last weekend in Thunder Bay. As you get caught up on all the scores, some have reached the fifth end break. Switzerland with a steal of 2 is back into it against Andrea Schaap. Norway up 4-1 on the U.S. as they play the fifth. And Scotland leading 2-1 against Finland and Jana Jokela. They're still playing the 5th. Playing for the Women's World Championship trophy. Canada has won it 10 times. Earlier we asked you what you would like to do if the games got out of reach. Canada games, one way or the other, win or lose. Should we go to another game? From Wayne Jason. Yes! Go to the next best game. The object is to see good, exciting curling. Thanks a lot, Wayne. And from Carmen Sinopoli from Sault Ste. Marie, I would prefer TSN moves. Oh, man. I like to see teams like an outward. Oh, come
Carmen,
on.
you know it. You know it.
Oh.
Coming around the center stone with later in the end, and we are playing a freeze.
He's gonna soul.
Coach Daryl Horn chatting with the Canadians, who are leading 4-1.
That one I just thought was I was a little bit surprised.
Time to check Linda's numbers after 5, brought to you by Simon Eyes.
And we were talking about the type of game Team Canada might need to really get back on track, and this may be at a wide open style game. Terrific numbers for Canada. They came in with an 81% average, and they're at 93 in this game. The steal didn't even come on a risky situation. It was a rollout by Japan. So Canada really looking like this is the kind of game that'll give them the confidence to move on through the week.
And the first stone to begin play here in the 6th from the Canadian lead. Kate Horn, Japan has the hammer. But does that naturally, I'm going to play devil's advocate with you, does this necessarily mean that to the team looking ahead to games which they suspect will be more difficult?
I think just in a mindset thing, I think this is a good game, and I think they will. I said this right from the start. I think they will have to play more complicated games against the teams you mentioned, Vic, the Swedens, the Germanys, the teams that are probably playing fairly open as well and maybe getting away with some of that. I think they will have to throw some more shots at those teams, but this is a good game for Canada.
Particularly Andrea Schopp, who knows has played the game wide open and clean, but she's really played it very well wide open and clean.
Exactly.
And that's shows in her record, of course. But she hasn't been playing very aggressively, but just been beating everybody with good execution.
And for Japan, it really is a struggle. They came in with a 68% team average, and they haven't been able to bring those numbers up very much. And they're trying again with the guard going up.
Good call.
Kate works for Emco Limited. They're a distributor of plumbing supplies.
Not in. 12. Not in. Lots. 8.
Stay out there. Whoa.
8.
Lots. We're not, no line yet.
Not curling.
No line yet. Yeah, we got a little bump. No. Okay.
Nice shot. Now what you do with this is just play it quietly with
One rock
back
down.
12. Rather than playing the hit on this, play it with back 12 foot weight and move the rocks, the yellow rocks, back into the back of the rings behind the, or at least one of them behind the tee line, and stay frozen to the front one. And that's how you can generate support, as opposed to the hit like this.
I think the other reason for playing that quiet weight you're alluding to, Ray, and that's the fact that you've got to save the shooter. When you play big weight, there's chances that the rock will roll into positions that you don't want it in. And there's a nice shot, though. Perfect roll. Look at that.
Great roll. But what happens in this kind of situation is that you have the one rock buried, which is great. It's so early in the end, Linda. Kathy will just play off the front one. She's going to play it tight. She catches the back fine, but she's going to play with hack weight. She's playing the back stone, but the thing you can't do, and the shooter knows that she can't miss it, and Brenda, being as good as there is, knows she can't miss it on the wide side. If anything, she has to chip the front off.
Yeah, the interesting thing on that last one, the yellow stones, the Canadian stones were rolling, and Mayumi, the Japanese skip, was sweeping the one out, and it would really be better to leave those ones back there, and that's, of course, what you're saying, Ray.
Brenda Bomer picks it out, can't hold the shooter.
Little up.
fourth appearance at a World Championship for Akemi Niwa.
Back four. T. T.
Want to update the game between Norway and the U.S. as they play in the fifth, and it's 4-1. Norway leading the U.S. with the hammer. This is the final stone of the end for Dorte Nordby in Norway, and she crashes. She was trying to, well, make the, I guess, the drive it back, right? Trying to run through and missed it, and now this was the final stone for the U.S. And Carrie Erickson, she came down and looked at a possible split for 4, but decides to make the draw for 3.
Looks like the foot may have been there, Vic. It's interesting. It's pretty close to the rings. Now it's over to the edge. It's just in the middle of the 8-foot, but it's maybe worth a try, Linda. We saw a couple of those made earlier where you just touch it in and your shooter rolls in for 4. Actually, if she played the same shot, she just played on the other side with a touch more weight. She would have made it, maybe got the 4 points, but it's 3 and she's back in the game.
And they go to their 5th end break, tied 4-4.
Corner guard is up there, so a chance if you can get the roll, and there is an excellent roll. Wonderful roll. 2 points is big here for Japan to put them back in the game. 4-3 would be the score then if they could score their deuce.
Akemi Niwa with the hit and roll.
Nothing in that backstone showing. They'll just go after the front rock, and they'll try and peel it right out.
Heather Godberson.
Shot, Heather.
Akiko Kato, as we say, lives now in Victoria. She studies English there. Hairdressing.
Japan deciding to draw the second one in. We saw earlier plays to still protect the one in the house and later draw the second one in. Nice draw, though. The rock's quite even in the house.
Get a good roll. A big roll. Okay, mine moves. So
set up for 2.
It'll have to be normal up. Okay.
These 2/3 for their very young ages have done a lot of curling. Heather Godberson winning the World Juniors, of course, a couple of years ago. Hooking up with Kathy Borst right after that, and it took about a year for this team to bond, as they said. Brenda Bomer came on board, and they've been terrific.
Okay. Damn.
It's set up for Japan with the exchange of stones to possibly get 2 here in 6.
Nice exchange.
Roll again. Hit a boat. Half. A little less than half. Well, we gotta make sure we stay in the ring, so half. Yeah. Brenda, I was concerned that Kathy's rocks are a little heavier on the drop. It could be the spot she came into, eh? Just half of it.
Would you try to make the hit and roll over on top? Is that what she's trying here?
She is, yeah. She's trying to get closer to the red stone on the left-hand side, if nothing else.
You heard her say earlier, as we were going to commercial, to her 3 children,
Right up.
you shouldn't be at home watching this. And to the corner.
Very nice shot.
And that's what we'll have for you tonight at 10:30 Eastern Time when we rejoin you. Switzerland against Canada, Christina Lechtander.
Oh, very nice roll. The rocks were a little bit flat, so it was tough to get to the front corner of the red stone, but what a terrific roll by Kathy.
She can still get a roll over there. Still not ice, you know. Look how it runs.
I know, she turned big white. I just wish this back three was gone.
Yeah, they're talking about the Yellowstone that's just sitting outside the rings. And Linda commented on it earlier that actually Mayumi was sweeping that, trying to get it out. And it's the best thing in the world for it to stay in there. So.
Hold the shooter. No.
Now you can see how important that Yellowstone is. It's sitting in the rings now, just outside the rings, I should say. This is the stone that Mayumi was sweeping, trying to get out earlier, and it's now a real factor as Kathy Borst attempts to get rid of this one. The possibility of driving it on there is.
You do?
Control. We should break here, right? You guys two in practice. It felt good, right?
Yep.
Control.
It's interesting how some rocks, the one out of play, or out of the rings at the back behind the tee line, and even the Canadian stone that whirled over on a peel attempt, they both come into play here. Kathy has to be careful.
The final stone for Canada here in the sixth.
No! Almost. Whoa, 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 whoa. Stay close. Whoa, whoa.
Let it come, let it come,
Not
let
a brush
it come.
to
Great
it.
shot,
Corner,
Kat.
Bomer. Very nice.
Good shot.
Well, an opportunity slipped away for a deuce. And Mayumi rolled out on that shot.
Now, there was a situation earlier where Mayumi had to decide, as we see Kathy's shot again, whether to hit or draw. Now, she's going down the ice rate to play a hit on this rock. It's just in the 12-foot. She has really the whole rings to draw to.
I guess her thought is blank, I guess, Linda, but.
Yeah, it's not going to be an easy
No,
blank.
it's not.
Yep. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Nomura,
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Niwa, the front end. Get the blank. No, she won't. She'll hang around the edge of the 12. One for Japan. But it's the lack of execution for Japan. They had a chance to get two. They'll get one. Here in Kamloops, Canada leading 4-2. Let's get you caught up on what's happening in some other games in this women's fourth draw. Denmark and Sweden as they play in the sixth. And Sweden leading 3-2. That's Elizabeth Gustafsson from Umeå playing Denmark, and Helena Black-Laverson. Both teams at 3 wins and no losses coming into this fourth draw. Dorte Holm jumps out as well. You see the Yellowstone tee line edge of the 4, and a nice draw by the former world champion Helena Black to put it on the lid to score 1 and a 3-3 tie. Well, Switzerland has really climbed back into their game with Germany. They were down 5-0, but the Swiss scored 2 in the third. They stole 2 more in the fifth. And it is now 5-4 as we pick it up. Germany and Andrea Schopp throwing. And the Swiss are lying 2, top 8, back 8. And the former world champion, as Christina Lechtander acknowledges the nice draw by Schopp to score 1, 6-4, Germany leading here at the Riverside Coliseum, and the USA tied with Norway 4-4 as they go to the 7th. Then it's an all tied 2-2 Finland, Scotland as they continue to play in the 6th. Japan with 1 in 6. Canada leads 4-2, and Kathy Borst from the Otwell Curling Club in Edmonton, the Canadian champions, have the hammer here in the 7th.
And Japan did get their point. I thought it was a very tough blank without worrying about jams and that sort of thing, but she got her point, and they're going for the steal now, Japan.
I like hack. Board or hack? Board. Board, she said, yeah. Okay.
Yep. Little soft. Soft a little. Just board. Just board.
Go this way. Or no, here it comes now. Again, sorry, Bren. Too much ice.
Chance for the hit and roll.
Both skips struggling a little bit in this spot with where to put the broom, because it is one of those spots that is fairly straight to start. Once it gets into the 4-foot area, it does break quite quickly. So they're both finding that spot for the broom and deciding the weight to play. In this case, board weight.
Yes, back side. Yes.
It's one green jacket you wouldn't mind wearing. The Masters.
I'll say.
And we'll have live coverage Thursday and Friday of this week at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Tiger Woods, the defending champion, although he comes in not playing as well as he did last year. Who do you think?
Oh, dear.
Who do you want? Who's in your pool?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Justin
I'm looking
Leonard,
for
maybe?
David Duval, I think is one that I would give some thought to. He's in my pool.
I knew it.
I think Ernie Els is going to break through soon.
Ernie Els, yes.
The Masters.
Europeans always come up big in the Masters too.
Ohkutsu. Can they drag it around?
A little more weight, and that would have been the perfect line.
Just light.
Japan has one stone in the house, but you can see Kathy's thought
Might be able
process
to
here.
split it. Okay, what is it here? 13.5?
Well, you're right, Linda. She can hit the wide open
I
one,
don't
but
think
then
I'll
she
play.
leaves Japan
Wait,
up to
top
be
four,
bumping
wait.
it back. So
See live.
it's a good call. Jump on the offense.
Yeah, in that range.
You saw
Between
Kathy
9
look
and
at those
short.
front stones. They're trying to pop the yellow one into the house, but you can see if you hit it on the broom side, the right-hand side, it will also wiggle in off the red one, and your shooter might roll in. So two options, a straight raise or a split, depending on the line that this rock is taking.
So, stay close. Yep.
Split. Line's good. Line's good. Whoop.
Yep. Split it. Hurry.
Split it.
Top four. Hurry.
We're splitting.
Hard. Down.
Hard. Shooter. Hard, girls. Hurry. Hurry.
Just a little more weight, Linda, for the shot that you had talked about.
Yeah, I think it can go. What was the call on that?
Some more interactive email. Ah, here's a little Canadian pride for Vic. I'd rather watch the Canadian games. Thank you, Mark. And from Dan Cook from Prescott, Ontario, switch your coverage. We're not like Americans, and we never need clarification our home team.
Dan knows what he's talking about, I'll tell you that much.
You read those slightly differently, Vic.
Dan the man.
Thanks, everybody.
They're on the front one again, I think.
And if you're wondering about the percentages of those who've responded, and we thank everybody for emailing us, it's 78-22.
You can split again.
What, this one?
Split your yellow under and roll under.
In favor of
I
moving.
guess it would be behind
Thank
the
you.
tee. We could try and come through the hole and split them.
You were very
We
slow.
can come through the hole.
What?
We can split that.
You might be able to bump both these in.
We can split the inside yellows. We're still only going to be
You don't
second
like
and
that?
third. Yeah. Get rid of that sucker.
I like the hit and roll. This one?
No, the back one.
I don't
we
like
two?
leaving this one here either, though.
Yeah, we can't leave
Are we two? No. There. 1, 2.
two? Yeah.
Yeah,
we're
that's
two.
what I mean. We're 2.
I'll be the second shot. What do you guys like? Well, I kind of like getting
This is
rid
what
of that
Heather's
one.
talking about, hitting this one and
Oh, we
rolling
can get
here.
there. Do the double. Yeah.
Okay.
Kathy doesn't want to leave the red stone that is just biting that they're about to
What's it do here, Katie?
be playing after,
The goes,
because
doesn't
it can be bumped so easily
Control,
behind the
not
other
bad.
stones in front.
Okay.
So Japan
You
could
guys
still
get to hit
continue the
rolling high.
steal attempt by using it. So that's why they're making a play on it.
You can hit this and roll in for 2, but you have to be careful not to jam on your own.
Drop! Free!
Keep it there. Keep it there. Okay.
Heather.
It looks like so much ice, but you have to believe it's going to curl. That one really did go on Heather.
No, it's ugly throw.
That's as plain as you can say it, Heather.
You must have really dumped it because it just went like that.
Can you in fact be fooled by Linda thinking that you've dumped it and it's just the curl of the ice?
And that's why she should talk to Kathy about it. Yes, Vic, you can be fooled because this is the spot. Straighter with one turn, and this turn, the out turn hit in this case, does really go. Her hand
It
comes to
looks
the
like she may
handshake
have
position,
It
but
looks like she may have just rolled it over a wee bit.
could have been pointed a little bit with the hand.
It does go there though, so it's hard to tell. The thrower usually knows. I usually know when I get them started or roll them over. It's such a small little movement with the fingers, you know.
The only thing that you worry about is she said, I must have because it curled. So you're right, Ray. Usually you do know and you feel it, but I'm not sure if she did or just saw the stone take off.
I guess maybe I'd have a better feel for that because I roll so many, you know. It's called practice.
She's trying to double.
What's she do?
She's doing a double, like red, yellow.
Oh, good call. Good. She might have 3 in.
Yeah.
It is a good call. Maybe playing the red stone just in front onto the Canadian stone. She might be able to roll the shooter. Play it in off the yellow. I think she's just not picking up that spot.
She only had to hit about a quarter more of that, and it would have been a perfect shot. But she just hasn't executed. She's rolled out a couple times, and she's had chances. She's just not
Yeah, but she'll just
making
draw in
the
for
making the
one that'll
shots. And it's
count
one of
us
those
anyway.
days when you.
Well, if we hit this one, she'll hit it.
Yeah, which is okay if we hit and roll in.
Let's just hit and stick.
You don't like to hit and roll away over to there to change the shot up?
Well, we could, but it'll be behind the tee line, right?
Huh?
It'll be behind the tee line.
Oh, that's all right. It's forcing her to do something different.
You want to take the swing turn? I think so.
Okay. Kind of weight you throwing?
It's about normal.
Kathy makes a good point. If you hit it and roll across and behind the forefoot, you're behind the tee line.
I'd be tempted to sit it
Yeah,
in
me
the
too.
edge of the 8-foot
I
and see
agree,
if
Linda.
Miami went after it. If she did, if Japan went after that Canadian stone, it might be open, and then your situation would be much easier.
You know, Heather wants to hit this and roll across here, and as you heard Kathy say, I'll be behind the tee line, so you got to be careful. We both suggest maybe that you hit this all right, but maybe just stay in this area here.
And that's what you'll do. Stay right there.
Gives Japan a chance to play the hit and roll now if she so desires.
Normal for.
Okay, I think I got it going too.
The bugs are right in front of me.
Got that started a bit? Yeah.
Quite often
Scary
when
when you
it's
step
suddenly a
with it.
spot
It's
where
really
you're
normal.
taking a lot of ice, it gets into your head. You look at that as you're sitting in the hack, and it just looks like so much, and the little hand just comes over and points the rock towards the rock you're aiming at.
And for the right-handed curler, that's the out turn across the body, and that's you can do that very easily.
Naomi's taking the in turn, the straight turn.
Don't touch it, says Akiko Kato.
It's very tough to get it to cross the stone with that straight turn. Well, they have had their chances, but Canada can blank here. Kathy switching to that straighter turn, much easier to blank this way.
Yep.
Bulmer Horn. Catch the corner, roll it out. No, it'll sit there.
Not out there anyway, Dick. It's pretty frosty.
One for Canada in the 7th. They have a 3-point lead, but they give the hammer, the last rock, back to Japan here at the Forward Worlds in Kamloops. Looking across the Thompson River to the Riverside Coliseum here in Kamloops, and it's the Forward Worlds on TSN women's 4th draw.
Just tight, easy, no line.
A little upset of your Borst missing the rollout, giving back the hammer.
Well, at this stage of the game, they still have very good control. I think Japan is the one that would certainly look at this game of all the opportunities they've had, chances for twos, and the last end, a really good chance, if nothing else, to get some rocks into position to put a lot of pressure on Kathy Borst with that hammer.
But I didn't know she said one and
Well,
in or
especially with
not.
that first one, if she makes that first one, it's no question, it was a good call on her part. She could be line 3.
Oh, impressive game for Yoko Mamura.
Her first game so far in these World Championships.
Oh, it just spins a little too far. Leaves the Canadian stone also shot back 8.
Down there.
Just had to leave it a little bit. Worry about the Canadian zone, but get the roll.
Yeah. What's it do here? No.
Japan has the hammer in this 8th.
Looks like a lot.
Looks like a lot. Control? Yeah. Looks like lots. I put it in last time.
Control, should be good.
They're questioning Kathy's ice, and she says, just throw control weight. This is the ice.
Brenda Bulmer.
Roll the other way. Right off. Roll it.
Looks to me like Kathy was right.
And a little chance for Japan here. They've got the one in the house. The Canadian stone they touched is now behind the tee line. Lots of choices here for Japan.
Yes, you can hit this and get the roll, but you can also come down and sit on top of it. Right like this, because this...
You could sit on top of it. You could even draw around the guard in an angle where your rock would be jammed on it. I would be playing a soft shot with this. I guess that's my point.
Peeking into the game between Germany and Switzerland as they play in the 7th. Germany leading 6-4. Final stone for the Swiss skip, Christina Lechtander. And she's got to sneak it by the red one here, but she'll crash in front. Had a chance with the quiet tap back to possibly get 3. That red stone edge of the forefoot now turns out to be the steel point for Germany, and a 7-4 lead. Andrea Schaap over the skip from Zug, Switzerland, Christina Lefstander.
It's interesting. We've seen a lot of the side sheets. Now, when we move over on these updates with Vic, we do see that that sheet had a lot of curl, that Christina had a chance on a fully buried stone to tap it back far enough to get 3. So some really interesting ice in the middle of the building, which, of course, we hope to get a look at later.
Well, great role by Japan in our game has really set up a terrific end possibility for Japan. Remembering they do have last rock.
We knew. Yeah, we know.
So that'll hurt the numbers a little bit for Boehmer.
What you can do in this situation is come around here and stop right here. Right in there. Ah, atta girl, that's exactly right.
Kathy did make a point, and you're right, Vic, that last shot by Brenda certainly brings the numbers down, but it was the key shot to prevent this particular shot from being played, and that's what Kathy said. We put it in front, we can tap it up, we can do lots with it. Once it's back behind the tee line, it's not usable.
It's Linda's law, is it not?
It is.
This is the biggest shot of this end for the Japanese team. They're just playing a come around, and she's got too much weight. They're going back to the back one now, but just
Kemi Niwa.
It was alert by Mayumi to try and tap it, to try and bring the other red stone in the house into play, but much too much weight.
You want to play it this way, in turn? Which turn do you like? Normal.
Arrow. Straight up, guys.
Normal. Up. No, yeah. A little further. Little up. Yes. Yay! Hard. Hurry. Hurry. Good shot, Heather.
Very nice to bail Canada out here in the 8th.
One of the Japanese stones were in a nice position. Good shot by Heather, but still they were close enough together to make that shot a little bit easier for her. Good shot.
well, you can see how important the Japanese come around was. I mean, if she makes a good shot to the top forefoot there, this end is in great position for her.
And then Kato can't hold the shooter.
It's strictly execution. They just have not played well at all.
All the scores for you. Getting late now in this women's fourth draw. Scotland with a steal of 1 in the 7th. Kirsty Hay.
You could set up a double coming this way.
Do you like this way? That yellow one's too far out.
Who shot, Victor?
No, you don't want to split them. But if we were to come,
from where I sit, I think it's yellow. I think it's Canada.
No, I like this, Kath. I just don't mind that either.
What?
I like this, but I don't mind that either. Yeah.
I like this because it's just taking away this one
I
then.
think it's getting stickier out here. I'd say 13.5 because it's dying coming to the board. T? Top 8?
Yeah, I'm
Top 8
line.
is where she wants it right there.
anything
So this
funny.
must be
Full
the
12.
second shot here.
She's 12, so I'm gonna be full 12, top 8. Okay, I think 13.5.
Looks like lots.
Clean. 57.
Whoa, it's got to come off center.
Whoa, clean. Clean.
Clean it.
Just
Whoa.
clean it. Clean it. Clean it. Back T.
No, it's coming top.
Come on. Gotta be
Now you can play this, get the hit and the roll.
Okay. But it surprised me. I knew it'd come down. We haven't used that much side of the ice.
You can hit this, and she could roll over this way here, behind this, or come around here.
Akiko Kato.
Struggling in her numbers, struggling to keep pace with Heather, who is making some nice shots now.
And it hangs on.
I'm off center, but I don't want to play it. Yeah, I think that's still not right.
You think the yellow one's a shot, do you, Vic?
I thought so.
You know how it's faster every. You know how it's
As we
faster
peek
every
in at the
shot?
game between Denmark and
What did you
Sweden.
get for a kick? I got 14 for time. Yeah, well, she kicked
It's
for.
last rock, and Helena Block-Laversen throwing red for Denmark just made a beautiful freeze, Vic. Just a lovely shot. So it looks like Sweden will just draw down to it.
In a battle of two undefeated teams, Denmark and Sweden both 3-0. Germany is also at 3-0 and currently leading Switzerland. So a draw for one for the two-time world champion from Umeå. And right next door, the Canadian game. And now we'll look at Kathy Borst and her first stone in the eighth.
Top here, top here. Top.
And in the
And that's
bottom
a big
left,
miss.
yeah, you saw how it was heavy and it just didn't come in.
So it's a steal of one for Denmark and a 4-3 lead. They've played 8.
This end so typifies what's been happening. If Mayumi can make a good shot here, she has those 2 red stones in. If she can get a bit of a roll, maybe set something up, try to get at the other Canadian rock, she has a chance to get a good score here. They just haven't been getting the right angles on stones. The right rolls are just not there so far.
Mayumi Ohkutsu.
She really pulled back the weight. Does she get a break here?
No, it'll spin too far.
She's just not making any shots. There's no weight on that at all, Linda.
Like that? 9-2.
One of those days.
Okay, same. It's quick.
Kathy came in as the top skip at 81%, and she has pulled her game up from there.
Well, very yes, but here it's quick. You tell her that. We'll tell her that.
Okay, is it the same this tack?
It's quicker. Quicker here. That's good. I got 13 on yours here. Yeah. So 14 to bring us. Yep.
Final stone for Kathy Borst in Canada.
Whoa, got the weight. Got the weight.
You do feel that this one spot that's running a little bit straighter does slide for them, so they're thinking 14 seconds for the draw.
Now Horn and Bulmer.
Hard, goes right up. Far. Hurry.
And they'll drag it to the edge of the 8. Boy, you almost have to wait so long, and by that time you've lost it seems.
It's a nice shot, but you're right, Vic. It didn't want to curl, and that's what they were waiting for, and the frost starts to grab it from the hog line in.
Sorry. Hard.
Facing it appears to be 3. Playing the same hit, I think.
What's she having doubts about?
Playing the other turn, I guess. That's Elaine Dag-Jackson with the papers, coach of the Japanese team. Trying to think of ways to really help them out as they struggle.
She's made only 1 draw today. Mayumi Ohkutsu. And playing the hit here, and will roll away and give up the steal of 1 to Canada. It's Kathy Borst. Up 6-2 over Japan through 8. Here at the Ford Worlds in Kamloops, BC. Updating the game between Germany and Switzerland as they play in the 8th. 7-4 Germany. Andrea Schopp leading. Christina Lechtander, the Swiss champion from Zug, trying to win her second. She's at 1-2, and she makes the hit and stick forward 2. And so she's within 1. Germany is leading 7-6. Schopp looking to go to 4-0 and has the hammer playing 9. Here in the women's 4th draw of these Ford Worlds, Canada up 6-2 over Japan. And so with Canada leading and 2 ends to play, lots of support for the Canadians, of course, here at the Riverside Coliseum. We'll go next door to the game between Denmark and Sweden, with both teams sitting tied with Germany at 3-0. And be assured that if things develop and the Japanese mount a comeback, we will go right back to Canada-Japan. But in this game, playing for first place, Denmark and Sweden. And as we play in the 9th, Sweden playing the Yellow Stones has the hammer and trailing 4-3.
Lots of rocks in play again this end. Denmark stealing that point. A very uncharacteristic miss for our Swedish skip Elisabeth Gustafsson, who's won 2 Worlds, making some terrific draws, and it was heavy, didn't come in. Helena got the steal for Denmark, and now she's trying to protect her stone just in front of the 4-foot.
Yeah, Elizabeth wasn't even close on the draw either. Linda, she threw almost hack weight. She had drawn down with her first one, but she was not close at all to the next one.
The Danish second is Dorte Holm.
Yeah, she's still on a terrific run since the Olympics. They're playing well.
Let's go back to the opening comments we made, you and I both made, about the psychological aspect of this game. When you get on a run, and we talked about Wayne Middaugh and Graham Carroll and Wayne himself and their whole team, actually, year in a row. And it's a confidence thing. And Helena, we've watched her so often. This is her 15th trip back to the World Championships, and we've seen her all through those years. And this year she just looks so much more confident. She's restructured her delivery using the low backswing, as you mentioned. But it's just more than that. It's in the head, and she got the confidence. It's obviously a big boost of confidence when she did so well at the Olympics, and she looked strong there all week. I watched her all week, and we kept waiting for her maybe to come undone a little bit, but it never happened. And The game definitely transfers when you are strong mechanically, and most of these players are, from the hands to the head.
And this, of course, a rematch of the semifinal, one of the semifinals in Kurosawa, which the Danes won to advance to the final against Canada and Sandra Schmerler.
Yeah, the two top thirds playing against each other in this game, with Nyberg playing against Margaret Bortner. So it's here's a lovely shot. Woo.
Well, she's a terrific thrower. Remembering this team that she doesn't hold the broom, she doesn't go down as acting skip with Helena, but she throws the third stone so well.
How well did she throw that one? Pretty well.
I'd take it every day.
Yeah, that's right. Katarina Nyberg is 83%, and Marguerite Portner is at 80%, and they're the top 2/3 in the round robin to this point. So this is a clash of titans. And Liz has got to get something off of there. Those rocks in the rings are positioned so well.
Trying to see what she should do. Should she try to run it back on something in the house? Should she try and hit it more thinly and maybe spill something else from the shooter?
Got to make a play on this one. Try and drive it back into this area here. Get some of these rocks out of position. You could get this one off the forefoot. And if that doesn't work, you might catch this one, at least get it open, get the shooter away. What is it Heather Robertson says here, Linda?
Redecorate the house?
Redecorate the situation, that's right. Something Vic will be doing at home soon. If he's still living at home.
Now, do you risk running the red back, Linda, to try and get rid of that one guard and maybe get that stone off the back of the four?
You can't worry about where you might jam things. You have to get this situation opened up. Denmark has a wonderful position right now. A look at where the yellow one would go if they caught the red one in the house on the center line side. But I think they're really looking at a complicated situation, trying to see where the stones would go if they raised the front one differently.
They're thinking if they can hit this one here, I'll just clear it for a second. On the outside, this way, driving it across onto that one, it'll hit this yellow and move it up into this situation. But Elizabeth does have last rock here. I think the most important thing to do here is to get this open.
Definitely, she has to make sure this red one spills that she's hitting. She's going to try and get some other action with Katarina as it goes into the house, but the guard has to be gone after this.
First stone for the Swedish third.
Just accomplished very little.
They had to hit it much more.
And peeking into the game between Finland and Scotland as they play the eighth, you see Scotland leading 4-2. This is the final stone for Finland, and the thrower is Anna Edakainen for the team skipped by Jana Jokola. By the center line, and now where will the shooter roll? She had a chance if she could squeeze it out to possibly get 2, maybe 3, and now they take a look. It's 1 1 red. So 1 for Finland. And a 4-3 Scottish lead. That's Kirsty Hay from Perth.
Now this guard is getting into that swing path. It is not going to protect shot rock.
Well, that's a break for Sweden, because she can now come to the back one. Yeah. And the top third in the event is throwing it, so you obviously like that situation. You got Katarina Nyberg, who's leading all the thirds. Get that guard on properly, boy. This situation is difficult for Sweden, but here's an opportunity to get frozen to the stone sitting in the back of the forefoot.
Gustafsson and Nyberg winning their World Championships together in 92 and 95.
Just too much weight, Linda. This is like back 12-foot weight, isn't it?
I think that was maybe what she called. I really don't know, but she took a lot of ice for that kind of weight, if that was the case.
I think with draw weight, she comes right to the face of that, because it really swoops over there. Hit and roll here would be nice. Get a hit here on this stone and roll over into here.
First ever Winter Olympic medal for Denmark.
We were talking about this earlier, and Tommy Stern was telling me that it's just been unbelievable, the attention, the interest, and the viewing audience on television during the Olympics when she was going so well.
Tommy Stern, the Danish skip, was doing color commentary on a telecast back to Denmark of the first game that the Danes played against Canada, in which they won. In fact, we understand that Eurosport is picking up many of the telecasts of different countries. The Germans was telling me they're doing some broadcasting as well.
It's really exciting for those of us that have been in Europe and see that it doesn't get a lot of attention over there, the sport of curling, to see the interest now.
We're talking to Roger Schmidt this morning, who's now here, Linda, and looking forward to seeing you. And he was saying that it's more than the interest, it's the attitude now, all of a sudden, the attitude of all those countries and their approach towards the game. And that's why you really have to give a lot of credit and thanks to Japan for being the country. Gunther Hummel, of course, the federation worked hard to get the game accepted, and all the countries together. And Japan was one of the countries that really helped push us the final step, the final push to get the sport into the Olympics in Nagano. And it's this new image that's the game is presented. And Japan did such a wonderful job of putting on the event in the Olympics in Karuizawa. It just has paid huge dividends.
Ray, we just saw Japan make the quiet tap back for a single in the 9th to pick up a point. And so Canada will lead 6-3, coming home with the hammer as they try to go to 3-1 and hand the Japanese their 4th straight loss.
And in that 9th in for Canada, Japan had a little something going, and Heather Godberson made a lovely double. So they're maintaining their good play. Team Canada, as Helena Bloch-Laverson has a chance for a roll. Now, it appears to me there is good curl on this ice, but they are taking a bit too much ice for these takeouts, and Helena has tightened up the situation here.
She gets a good roll here, boy. She really puts a lot of pressure on Elizabeth.
There's the hit, there's the roll, sit in time, it does.
Great
Boy.
shot. That is curling. I'll tell you, that's a wonderful shot. And a good call. Very good call by the holder of the broom.
Dorte home with Portner and Richardson out in front.
And this was the one thing I've also been impressed about Helena. She seems to be reading the ice very well. She tightened up the ice. They got on the sweeping to make sure it didn't catch that big break. That held it, and that's how they got the nice roll. And a good call, as you said, Ray, by Dorte.
Yeah, tremendous call. Put her right on the Ford. This is a very, very difficult little shot.
In the last end, Elizabeth had a tap, but the rock was almost wide open. This one is buried.
Boy, she really squares her body around for this. It's not a very wide shot, but brush being held right on the edge of the 8-foot. She really turns herself around. Pulls to the toe.
Facing a couple. Quiet tap for one.
Just to get at least into the 4-footing, hold them to just 1 point here to have a chance.
What is that swing?
Elizabeth Persson and Louise Marmont gives up 1, 2, in fact gives up a steal of 3. 3 for Denmark, and Helena Bloch-Laverson here in the 9th. Terrific hit and roll, set it up. Denmark is up 7-3 as they look to go to 4-0 here in the Ford Worlds at Kamloops. Germany and Switzerland, an update for you. The Germans started quickly with 3 and then a steal of 2, 5-0, and now they're fighting to hold on against the Swiss team from Zug and Christina Lestander. This is the final stone in the 9th for the Germans. Skipped the former world champion Andrea Schopp, and this is an open draw for 2. And Schopp leading 7-6, can't get it there, will take 1, leads 8-6, and Switzerland will have the hammer coming home down by a pair. And we go back to our featured game to start this 4th draw of women's play. Canada and Japan as they play in the 10th. Canada up 6-3 with the hammer.
How many rocks do they have left? 4?
Kathy just
It's up to you. Okay, peel it.
let's peel this one, she says.
Trying to run the Japanese out of stones here in this 10th for the win to go to 3-1.
Well, they can see the 1 in the house, but Kathy just thinking that getting the front off at this stage is the better shot.
Brenda Bomer.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Shot. Shot.
Akiko Kato as we play 3rd stones in this 10th.
3.93真ん中ぐらいお真ん中 Yes, yes, yes. Yes, hurry. Hurry.
danger of going to 0-4, Japan and Mayumi Ohkutsu. And we come back to what you said before the game even started. The pressure on these Japanese women. Had a disappointing Olympics, but coming off of last year's Worlds,
Go across the top.
where they were 6-3 for losing a couple of games and just missing out on the bronze medal. And when you do that, the expectations are greater.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see moving into the next Olympic period and the U.S. hosting those Olympics in Salt Lake City, the pressure on the American teams to improve their performances at World Play and do well in those Olympics. It is very difficult under those situations to just relax and play, as I said earlier.
And they've got a lot of work to do too, Linda. You know, they don't have huge numbers, 15 or 16,000 curves, but they really have to go out of their way to, you know, to take that extra, walk that extra mile to try and improve the competition, to get more young people involved. It's they have a good young junior team. We saw them in Thunder Bay. They got off to a good start. Andy Rosa, I really like that team. I think they got a great future down there. But there are some good men's teams, but not a huge number of them. And that's been evident with their performances at the international events. And
Hurry! Clean.
Horn on the left, Bomer on the right.
Can't take it out, Heather.
And we'll hit right there, Heather Godberson. And that's it.
Good luck.
Canada will win it, running the Japanese out of stones in 10. The final 6-3 as Kathy Borst improves her record to 3-1. Japan and Mayumi Ohkutsu now 0-4. Next up for Canada in draw 5 will be Switzerland, and we'll have it for you tonight at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Christina Lechstander goes against Kathy Borst. Lechstander trying to come back right now against Germany. It's a beautiful day. The weather's been terrific here in Kamloops, the Riverside Coliseum on the shores of the Thompson River. And with our game over and Canada picking up the 6-3 win, we'll go from one side of the Coliseum, that's sheet A on the left, over to the right side and sheet E. And it's Finland against Scotland. Jana Jokela from Helsinki against Kirsty Hay from Perth, Scotland. Finland looking to win their first, Scotland to try to even their record and stay among the contenders. As we pick up play, it's 4-3 Scotland leading. And we're playing the 9th.
I think we want to keep the hammer.
Well, this decision that trying to make that Kirsty will talk to Edith Loudon about is what to do now. Should they in fact take their one or blank? The 26-year-old Kirsty Hay, the native of Glasgow, two-time world junior champion. They had a good run at Nagano, losing the other semi-final to Sandra Schmerler, 6-5. What do you think here? That was the debate. Do you, in fact, take it here, or do you blank and be up one with, or up two without?
well, you know how I feel. I usually like to hold the hammer. The 4-rock rule makes it a little different, though. Beck, you get a chance to throw those first two. Being up two is.
That's fine, okay.
blank. It looks like they were maybe trying to stick, though. They didn't brush that at all.
So Scotland will hold on to the hammer and lead 4-3 over Finland and Jana Jokela. So while they take their break between ends, we'll go quickly to the game. Denmark and Sweden as they play in 10, and Denmark leading 7-3. This is the first skip stone for Sweden's Elisabeth Gustafsson. Trying to spread things out here. She got it set up that she might be able to get her 3. As we take a look down here, she's got 1 in, 2 in, and look at this. This is the 3rd point now that she has in. Well, she needs 4 to tie, of course.
Just hit the wide open one and not fool around with it.
Yes.
It's really surprising to see Kirsty Hayes struggling. If you look at the statistics, the Scots are really low. Kirsty herself, obviously, we haven't watched a lot of her games, Vic, but they're all struggling.
Just a reminder, we'll be back with you, Ray, at 10:30 p.m. Eastern Time when Canada and Kathy Borst play Switzerland and Christina Lechtander. Sorry, your thought about Scotland?
Just to go back. Well, because they came off such a great Olympics, they really played well. You know, they're disappointing in the medal round, but they played very well all week. And to see them come here and really struggle,
Helena Black Laverson trying to win and run Sweden out of stones. And there it is, 4 straight for the Olympic silver medalist. Helena Black Laverson will win it 7-3.
She's for real. She's really got her confidence, and that it's so important in this game. She's playing well. She's looking confident. She's skipping very well, and Linda made the good point that she's been reading the ice well. And this is tricky ice, good ice, but tricky. But she's got a good read on it, and that really makes a difference.
So Denmark is now 4-0. Sweden 3-1 and tied with Canada. Tenth end, Finland and Scotland 4-3. The team from Perth leading, and they have the hammer.
Scotland, as you mentioned, up 1 with last rock.
And this is the second lead stone for Finland. That's Laura Francila. Scotland has one on the button. Katie Loudon, and it's now Scotland lying 2. Doherty Nordby and Norway have run the United States out of stones and have won their game 7-5. So Norway is now 3-1, and the USA and Kerry Erickson from Bemidji, Minnesota fall to 0-4.
Well, Scotland's lying 2 here, Vic, but you can't like the positioning of them. If Finland can get a good shot, a good freeze into this pocket, it can really make it tough on Kirsty to get in there. Pretty good shot, and this is exactly what the Scots should do, is run this front one off. That's the one that will really hurt. Peel this out of there.
Jackie Lockhart. And she'll open it up.
Little dance steps to stay out of the way there. Just tap it back quietly. Still early in the end, so even short doesn't hurt you an awful lot.
The Finnish second is Nina Polanen.
She's got the double in front. She can get rid of those two front ones. Big shot here.
Jackie Lockhart, who is in her fourth appearance at a Worlds, skipped in 1992 and finished with a record of 4 and 5, and throws the skip kind of stone and makes the double.
That's a very, very nice shot.
Canada's a winner to go to 3-1 over Japan. Denmark remains undefeated. It's final. Germany keeps pace at 4-0 with a win over Switzerland, and Norway goes to 3-1. They win over the U.S. still winless. One game remaining here at the Riverside Coliseum, and it's Finland-Scotland. And this is the skip of this Finnish team from Havinka in her 8th appearance at the Worlds. She throws the third stone, Jana Jokela. And from 1/3 to another, and a winner. Heather Godberson is with Linda.
Heather, we thought that was a terrific game all around. Obviously, the win is nice, but to us, the team played just that much better.
Yeah, I think we're starting to mesh a little bit. We got a little bit of our jitters out, and it's nice to see that the chemistry on the ice is coming in regards to just getting rid of our jitters and stuff.
The game was a little bit simpler. Japan kept it quite open. Was that what you expected from them?
That's what they've tended to play against us, but I thought she might gamble a little bit more and get a little bit more aggressive, but we knew if she played that style of game, we'd be on top.
Really, the only game that you've struggled a lot is the Denmark game, but the Finland game wasn't what you wanted. What is it that you're really looking for as a team in your next games?
Well, I think, like you mentioned, our chemistry on the ice, when we mesh together, if somebody makes an error, we capitalize on the next person. So we're looking at the style that we play as the aggressive, so we're going to get back in that.
Well, good luck the rest of the week. Thanks for joining me.
Thanks.
Edith Loudon, the third for Scotland, gets the remaining red stone to the back of the 8.
She wanted to hit that a little thicker, Vic, than that, and she actually could have got rid of all the red stones. Not that that's important. It's at this stage, Kirsty's done the things she wanted to do. She's got the 4-foot open. There's nothing in front of the rings, and she has the advantage of last rock. So, if nothing else, she's going to have herself a draw to that 4-foot to win, even with the perfect freeze, and that's exactly what Anna is playing here. Anna Jokela is playing here. Freezing to the stone, sitting at the back of the 4-foot in the 8-foot. This is really curling, however.
And right on through.
Right on. Kirsty might think of hitting that one of hers and peeling it out of there. The one that's behind the 4-foot. The one they tried to freeze to. This situation over here is pretty good. I think this is the rock here that might hurt a little bit because it is behind this tee line. You could actually you don't have to score points. You could actually remove that and get that one out of there. Peel that one. I would. This situation over here on this side of the ice is fine. You don't need rocks in play here, Vic. You don't need anything more in play. I think if I was Kirsty, I would just do that. I would get rid of that one there.
Would you contemplate even running your yellow one back and trying to kill the red one? Or?
No. I wouldn't touch the other side of the ice whatsoever. That red rock is not going to be a factor. I mean, you've got the 4-foot open. This area is open to you, no problem. This situation, she needs some kind of an angle freeze and would have to be perfect. And then you're still going to be able to draw to this area, and you're up one with the hammer. This is the only stone because, as I mentioned, it's behind the tee line. This is the only stone right here that could hurt you. And this one here, I think, because she could freeze on the face of it, but even at that, it's behind the tee line. You're going to be able to follow it down. So I don't think you need anything more in play. That's the whole key. I certainly wouldn't want to put the rock someplace where it might work against you. I'd be tempted to hit the back one. You don't want to hit it on the nose. I understand that. But I'm not sure what she's decided. It looks like she is going to the other side somehow. It's the intern setup. So it looks like an intern.
Edith Loudon.
There's plenty.
I don't agree with that, but that's just me, I guess. It's not too bad, I guess, but.
What did she do? I mean, did she bump it back as she suggests? Could she freeze to it?
Well, it's not a whole bunch worse than it was, but she should freeze to this. She's got 2 shots left.
Anna Erikainen. She throws the 4th stone for this team, skipped by Jana Jokela. Finland 0-3 coming in. Scotland at 1-2.
She just obviously has to get rid of this one. Just looking at the ice. Got to be very careful not to jam it over this way. That is for sure. No sit, we'll be fine. The luxury of being 1 up, and she does have the last rock.
Scotland's best record under Kirsty Hay, 5-5. In 1996, she was 4-5 in 95.
Kirsty's husband Michael is here. The alternate for David Smith's team, the 5th man. And The in-laws are here. Chuck and Nora Hay are here as well. Michael's father. She's going to freeze to the only stone that she has the opportunity to do so. The one's behind the tee line, the one we talked about earlier. Looking for the freeze, and she's made it pretty well.
Anna Erikainen with her final stone.
Kirsty can just follow this down. The nice thing about the whole situation is the rocks are behind the tee line.
Now, in your mind, do you play full four or button, or do you play to the packing?
Well, you play a draw. Like you take. I mean, you just saw back 4 foot weight, and you saw the ice that was taken, so you just play a draw to the 4 foot.
For the win, to improve their record to 2-1 and hand Finland their 4th straight loss, says Jackie Lockhart, and Katie Loudon back right off.
I wouldn't be laying a brush on this one, I'll tell you. I don't know why she's even doing that.
And it'll spin right by. Not even touch it. Didn't even touch it. So the freeze by Erikainen pays off in a steal of 1 and a tie game. As Ray suggested, the Scots have struggled, and they showed it there.
The 1998 Ford World Curling Championships on TSN are brought to you by Ford Motor Company of Canada Limited, by Karcher Quality Cleaning Equipment, by Labatt Good Things Brewing, and by Simonize Car Care Products. If you care, Simonize it. Simonize is available exclusively at Canadian Tire.
So one game goes to an extra end. Finland-Scotland here in the 4th draw of women's play. The Canadian women, however, were 6-3 winners over Japan to improve their record to 3-1. The Canadian women will play twice. They're back on the ice tonight at 10:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 Pacific, as Canada goes against Christina Lechtender and the team from Zug, Switzerland. They lose 8-6 to Switzerland, so the Swiss will come in at 1-3, and Kathy Borst is with Linda.
Well, Kathy, it's been a bit of an up and down start to the week, a loss, and you said you struggled against Finland, but that to me was your best game.
Oh, was it? I never look at the stats, so I never know what kind of game I'm having. I just know how I feel in the game, and if you say that was my best game, then.
But that's what I mean. I think you look the most confident that I've seen you so far. You look so good at the Scott Tournament of Hearts, but I felt that was your best.
Well, this game, the last game we played against Japan, we felt like we had control, so that was pretty good too. There's room for improvement, and hopefully when we start playing the top teams, we'll get better.
Now, I have been noticing the games have been quite wide open, again against Japan. Is that your conscious effort to do that, or is that what you're playing with your opponent?
Well, whenever we have the hammer, we're going to try and get our 2. You know, if they're down a couple and we're putting them in the 4 foot, that's the way we like to play it. So we'll see what the next teams do against us.
Right down the lineup, the team is playing a little bit better, I think. And it's just not stats, as I said. It's the way the team's playing together. And Kate's really getting the rocks into position for you. Again, with 4-rock rule, that's important.
Yeah, if the leads don't have their draw weight, you're in big trouble. And Katie's got her draw weight, and she struggled in one game. I think it was against Finland. She wasn't quite sure that we had a problem with one of the rocks. And today she played real well, and all the girls did.
So we look forward to you against Switzerland tonight.
We'll be ready.
Thanks for joining me. Vic?
The extra end is underway. Finland and Scotland in a 4-4 tie. Finland stealing 1 after Kirsty Hay was heavy with her final stone in 10, and the Scots have the hammer. Long center line guard Ray out in front, put up by the Finns, and the first stone from the Scottish lead, Katie Loudon, goes top 4.
Well, she played to go around it all the way, and with the 4-rock rule, you see a lot of that. The tick isn't such a sure shot in the 4-rock rule because you have to make it a couple of times. So in our game where we only have the one opportunity to out there in front, Vic, you'll see the tick played so often. But Kirsty's decided to go around, and she got it in a pretty good spot in front of the tee line, but that the front is established. So. That's the beauty of this 4 rocks. You can get those 2 stones out there.
Either that or just come down and sit on top of lone one.
But now if you're Finland, and help me out here, would you not have preferred those 2 stones not to be grouped like that or in line like that? Wouldn't you want them spread out?
No, I don't mind the position where they are. They're in a pretty good spot. They can't be peeled off. They can be moved over and moved around, but they can't be peeled off. So they're.
But I'm just thinking for bumping purposes later, for playing them back.
Well, you might have stagger them a little bit, maybe a little bit better, Vic. But the whole point is that the center line and the 4-foot area is covered. They've got the center line guards up, and we saw what happened last time when Scotland was lying, a couple of shot rocks, and we go back to discussing that. I would have liked to have seen Kirsty hit that back when it was finally the freeze. Now, in all fairness, she had just to draw to the 4-foot to win, so she had a fairly simple shot to win, and then you have to make those to win the games, and when you're skipping. But I don't think that freeze would have even been there had they not. And that they'd taken it out earlier and left that rock that was in front of the tee line in position, then Finland would have had to try and freeze on an angle or something, which is very difficult. Then Kirsty would have had a hit and not having to stick to win. But I mean, that's hindsight. This is the end you have to worry about now. And
Nina Polainen.
The front is established, and Kirsty realizes that, and she's just got to try and get some of these off of there.
Jackie Lockhart will try and clean things up.
It's always interesting, Ray, when you're down on the ice level and you're standing with the skip. Kathy and I watching that end as well. That's one of the things, and we're trying not to be critical about some of the strategy employed here, but sometimes there are some different calls seen at the World Championships, and you have to be careful as a skip that you don't start to play along. And Kathy wasn't making that comment. That is my comment, but it is difficult when we see these different games to just stick with your own game plan sometimes.
A reminder, be a player. We'll be coming right up for our coverage of this women's 4th draw here in Kamloops.
An interesting call. She could freeze to the stone on the other side of the rings. This is a front rock, I guess. She's playing a guard on this.
All the scores for you. Everything else is final. Canada is now 3-1.
Kirsty looking for the double peel here.
Playing another guard.
Scotland still has the shot rock, I believe. Am I wrong in saying that?
No, I think you're right. So why not go after it, Linda?
Go after the Yellowstone?
Yeah.
Now for sure, because you got the 2 in front. You play the wide in-turn tap back of the Yellowstone.
I don't know.
Okay.
You know, that's the thing I'm saying, that it's really difficult sometimes to follow along with what's happening. Obviously, what Jana is thinking is that if she protects, she will have still a chance to go after that yellow one later.
Maybe.
Well, that's right. Now, that last one was supposed to be a peel, and that red stone wouldn't be close to protecting that yellow, but you never know what can happen.
Got to get it over, and they will, Francila and Polainen.
You can see the thought process. Kirsty trying very desperately to keep the 4-foot open, but at this stage you might have to change your plans here.
You can still get a couple of these.
Loudon. And we'll just get one.
You could certainly make a play on this one now. This is the shot rock here.
Nope.
Now, if she happened to get a miss on one of these front rocks, she still could tap her own that's in the 4-foot over a little bit. She can angle chip it, and then it would be shot.
She is the skip and has been skip of several Finnish champions, but she throws the third stone.
Well, they're changing their mind. It looks to me like maybe they're coming right in, or they are moving up that red one.
Playing to come around here.
If she catches the corner of her own, she'll be okay. Should have maybe swept it to try and catch the corner of their own and roll over.
And in fact, that's what I think Anne-Erik Kainen is talking to the front end, of lack of communication about the weight of the stone.
I think Chris is going to hit that now and roll over to the center line.
Se olikin takapesävoima. Sitä noista kertoi tuossa metrinen, että se onkin takapesä. Niin, mutta jos ei se tuu. Jos pesähän tuo kakkosella, niin mä voin ottaa sitä peruunalle. Niin. Sen takia mä en sitä harjannut. No niin, vaikka se on
Loudon in this extra end of a 4-4 tie, Scotland and Finland.
Yep. Come on, hurry! Hurry!
And sits there.
Well, Kirsty was trying to roll it away. In fairness to her, to get it out of there. She could have also played the roll in behind herself, sitting right directly on the center line in front of the button, which would really make it difficult for Finland to get in any fashion. I think that's what I would have tried to do, is roll the other way, Linda.
Yes, me too. Kirsty could have a tough situation depending on if Anna can get in there. Now Finland's deciding to play the double, basically trying to hit the center line side of the stone that's wide open and roll towards the other one, and they might push it out, but it's definitely stay for shot in that way.
Covered. Totally covered.
Her best game was the last game. 82% she shot. She can make them.
Anna Erikainen got one cross, bump, and moved it far enough.
And she shot rock. Christy can see it, but that will also leave Finland the out-turn draw to the button behind the guards. If she hits it and removes it. You can definitely hit this one, get it, pass it out through there, but that will leave this out-turn come around for Finland. This is the shot rock.
Avoid the jam, and they do.
Pesään, tai sitten yrittää tästä näin ja oma tänne.
Kirsty was really right on that last one. You didn't want it to roll out very far in case you need it. But it looks like Finland was thinking about hitting, I think.
Got a couple options. She could draw through here into this area here. And how she knows there's lots of movement, or she could draw this way here.
But hitting you would not do.
No, I wouldn't be hitting.
No.
You can hit if you want, Vic. I'm not going to hit there. No, I would be drawing one way or the other.
And it'll be the lady on the left, Anna Erikainen, that throws the final stone.
You can see Jana checking the time clock there, down to 2 minutes. They get 10 minutes to play this extra end.
Riittääkö jos se osuu tuolla? Riittääkö se voima? Kato, kun toi on punaisella tuolla noin. Se ei voi kovin hiljainen olla. Eiks niin? Mitä siitä jää sitten?
Well, I guess they're discussing some type of hit on this. They could, as I mentioned, they can go either way here or there with draws if they so desire.
Decisions made. Final stone coming up for Finland, looking to win their first. Scotland, though, does have the hammer.
Hit and roll.
We see this a lot. We see that, is it a fear of the draw? We haven't watched the game. I granted maybe they don't know their draw weight yet, but should you not be able to draw now in an extra end?
Well, of course.
Yeah, I don't think they think of the shot. It's not. I don't think she's at all afraid. I think Anna's very capable of throwing these last rocks. I think they don't see it. They see that if she can get the roll in off it, that's the best way to get there. For us, the best way to get there, the best controlled way to get there is the drop.
Yeah, she can definitely get the hit and roll here and roll to the top of the forefoot and be-shot rock.
When she hits it dead on, she may jam and leave the Scottish stone for shot. That's a problem.
Going to come across enough. Going to get rid of them both. So that's what maybe she was playing. Make the double and now make Kirsty Hay make the draw. I don't know. She's been heavy. We've seen that.
Yes. But the only thing is she did this a little bit against Canada in the last end. And this was the last game I was referring to, where Anna could have played a tap to the forefoot on one of her owns, and instead she hit a Canadian stone and left a very similar situation where the stones were all Finland, but they were ringing the edges of the house, and she left just a draw to the full 8 foot for Canada, and in this case for Scotland.
Urging it over, and it did finish enough to get the double, to leave Finland lying 3 all around the 12, so it's full 8 for the win. Final stone, Kirsty Hay, and remember on her last one she was heavy.
Yeah, Kirsty can't answer anymore. She had a draw to the forefoot the last time to win the game. She's got to draw the 8 foot here. So if she doesn't to win this game, then she's, you know, she just obviously doesn't deserve to win it.
Now did she pull the string on this one? Hay has jumped out to join Jackie Lockhart and Katie Loudon, and you can see Edith Loudon urging them. They need full 8. They gotta get it there. Can they drag it enough? And they're going to come up light. And Finland, Jana Jokela, Anna Erkkainen, Nina Polanen, and Laura Francila will win it in this extra for their first win at these Ford Worlds.
Ei mitään. Ei kun se oli ihan hyvä. Mäkin sain vähän purettua sitä omaa. Ei se haittaa mitään. Mä unohdin sen heti.
First glance, I think they got 3. It may be 2 as we watch them put it on the board. It's a win nonetheless, and more frustration for a Scottish team that has struggled. It is 3 for Finland. And a 7-4 win for Jana. Jana Jokela.
Tuntuu tosi hyvältä.
Yeah. Time now for the TSN turning point, and it comes out of Canada's game against Japan.
Well, in this whole game, Canada had early control and got off to a very good start. And the Japanese team just didn't look comfortable at all. But it comes to this 5th end, and Kathy Borst is staring at 3. And if she doesn't make this, it could turn the game around and the confidence of the Japanese. But no mistake, she drops it in the forefoot, and that's your turning point.
As Canada goes on to a 6-3 win to improve their record to 3-1, a cash donation will be made to the Coaching Association of Canada for the training and development of coaches in amateur sport on behalf of TSN. 6-3, Canada wins it, and this draw is now complete. The 4th women's draw at these Ford World Curling Championships here in Kamloops. Finland wins their first. Jana Jokela celebrates with Anna Erkkainen as they win it 7-4 over Scotland. And Jana is with Linda.
Well, Vic, I'm joined by Jana Jokela on my far left and Anna Erkkainen just next to me. And of course, we really appreciate them being with us, and they're a little uncomfortable with English. So first I'm going to ask Jana, a terrific game. I thought the game against Canada was very good, but this was very good against Scotland.
Yes, okay. Maybe I think that the game with Canada, we play more better then. But yes, I'm very nervous now. I don't know what to say.
Well, Anna, I was very impressed because in your last game against Canada, you had an 82% average, made a lot of shots. In the last end here, you made a wonderful double takeout and forced Kirsty Hay to make a tough shot.
Yeah, that's good.
That's the way we play.
But how does it work with Jana and you? You decided to throw the 4 stones and not skip. That's because of Jana's experience?
Yes, that's true, because she's very good at skip.
But that means that you have to be very confident in the ice, and you have to work together a lot. Just tell me a little bit about how you work together.
Well, Jana
because I all the time in the house because I know the situation, and I have been many years ago as a skip, so I know what Jana is thinking, and I do what she thinks. That's all.
And you do it very well. Have you thought about your goal for the week? How many games you thought you could win over the course of the week?
No, there isn't. Every game we try, and we will and try to win every game we are going to play.
And it looks like things are getting better and better, and we expect many more wins. Congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
Vic?
Anna Eräkainen and Jana Jokela. Finland wins their first here at the Ford Worlds. 7-4 over Scotland. Two teams remain undefeated. Denmark, Helena Black-Laversen and Andrea Schopp, both former world champions at 4-0. Sweden loses their first to drop into a tie with Canada and Norway at 3-1. Scotland, with the loss, drops into a trio at 1-3, including Switzerland and now Finland, and still winless Japan and Carrie Erickson from Bemidji, Minnesota. Here at the Ford Worlds in Kamloops. You take that train just a little north here on the Yellowhead, and you'll come to Sun Peaks. Great skiing there. And coming up on TSN, Warren Miller's ski lift. That's what's ahead on TSN following our coverage of these Ford Worlds. The women's draw, the fourth draw, is complete. And Canada with the win now at 3-1 as they win over Japan and Mayumi Ohkutsu 6-3 as the Canadian women look a little more confident. Denmark, impressive. The silver medalist Helena Black-Laversen from Denmark beats the two-time world champion Elisabeth Gustafsson 7-4. Germany, Andrea Schopp, playing as well as we've seen her play in a number of years, wins her fourth in a row, beating Switzerland and Christina Lechtander. And Norway wins Dorte Nordby, always a contender. She's now 3-1. The U.S. still winless, and Finland in the extra end as Kirsty Hay misses her final rock draw. She needed the 8-foot. She came up light. Finland wins their first. Jana Jokela from Havinka. With their thoughts, Lyndon Ray.
Well, Ray, I think the morning draw had a few surprises for it. No surprise, really, that Canada played as well as they did against Japan, a struggling Japan, and Helena Black-Laversen looking very solid against Sweden.
Well, I think she's the most improved player. I don't know, even improve's the right word. I think you talked about it, Linda. She looks so confident. Vic and I were just mentioning it, too. She's calling. You mentioned earlier in the telecast how she's reading the ice. This is tricky ice, and we saw that last night in our Canadian game with Wayne Madaw, and they talked about the ice themselves. And it's tricky. It's good ice, but it's tricky. But she's confident in the reading of the ice, and she's throwing it very, very well. She's redesigned her delivery a little bit with the no backswing, and she really looks strong. She is definitely for real. That silver medal has just been kind of a finishing touch for her. She's been here. This is her 15th trip here. Yes. But, you know, she just looks so good.
And a few surprises in that Scotland not playing as well as we expected. Finland really showing that they can make some shots, but disappointing for Kirsty at the end of that game.
Well, it really is. I mean, Kirsty be the first to tell you. I saw you standing with her and talking to her, and I'm sure she feels really bad about it because she really had two very simple shots. Draw to the 4-foot, draw to the 8-foot.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to, of course, Switzerland and Canada later tonight, Vic.
When we're back with you at 10:30 Eastern Time, 7:30 Pacific, Switzerland, Christina Lechtander at 1-3 against the now 3-1 Team Canada. We'll also have highlights for you. The men are on the ice this afternoon as they play Denmark. Wayne Madaw tries to go to 4-0. Coming up, it's Warren Miller's ski lift. Till we talk with you again, remember, Canada's most comprehensive curling coverage is here. You betcha, on TSN.